Sup folks, welcome to the part 5, of What If Deku Followed the Anarchist Way. Chapter 45, Fraternisti Mission 2. Deku is asking to do another mission for the Brotherhood which our boy hasn't nothing better to do. Who are they going to face? Who are they going to bring on this mission? Let's find out. Izuku was just sitting in his office just doing his taxes. You bet your asses he is going to do his taxes. That's how they got Capone, so he was going to avoid that by doing his taxes. Izuku sighed. Being a villain in the early days was so much fun. Dabi said, "You're only 16 years old." Izuku said, "Look at this shit, I got taxes to pay while you got nothing to pay. They are going to get you for tax fraud." Dabi chuckled and left, which Izuku looked at Izuku to see Deku wants to fight another villain Izuku. Izuku then warped Deku and the other Izukus to the new building he made for meetings. Izuku said, "So, we are going to fight." Darkseid. Deadshot said, "Heard of him. He is something he calls a new god. He has immortality, super strong, and produces omega beams." Stark said, "How are we supposed to beat that? He is immortal." Izuku snapped his fingers and 6 Izukus appeared in the room. Izuku said, "Me Deadpool, Izuku Constantine, grown-up son of All Might, Super Saiyan Deku, Magneto, and Scarecrow." They waved, which Son of All Might said, "Call me Deku." Deku said, "I'm Deku." Izuku said, "You will be Green Might." Green Might said, "I will accept it then." Super Saiyan asked, "If Deku is taken then call me Gaku." Stark rolled his eyes, "Okay Gaku." Doctor Strange and Constantine talked about magic and whatnot, which Scarecrow looked at Darkseid's file to say, "I can't wait to see your fears." Hex asked, "What does he do?" Izuku said, "In his universe, he is a villain with a quirk to produce a fear gas to put people in a state of fear or put them in nightmare-induced comas." Deadpool said, "Why don't we just get him to put DC Thanos in one of these comas and then mission done and over with?" Magneto said, "I'm sure Darkseid wouldn't allow us to get close to him to knock him out." Deku looked at the file. "He is from another planet. Why is he coming to Earth?" Izuku said, "From the information from the universe he is looking to unravel the anti-life equation, which he has to fight the creepy name warrior protecting Earth." Punisher asked, "Who is this warrior?" Izuku looked at information to say, "Read page 48. Everyone turns to the page, which some of the Izuku sighed, which Deku said, "Kaken." Izuku said, "I never thought I had to actually fight alongside Bakugo." Izuku got a call and he said, "Hello?" The voice said, "The new suit is ready." Izuku said, "Perfect, thanks Mark." Izuku hung up the phone, which Stark asked, "What new suit?" Izuku chuckled, "I was screwing around Izubook the other day and saw Batman had this armor he called Hellbat armor. I saw it in multiple ways it could be improved, and I now have a more improved and less bad-looking version of the Hellbat armor. I call it Demon Armor." Deadpool said, "Really?" Izuku asked, "Do you have a better name that isn't copyrighted?" Stark said, "Just call it Hell Armor." Izuku said, "Fine, I'll call it Hell Armor." Izuku put on the armor, which he said, "I guess this will help me make up for my lack of super strength, speed, and ability to fly." Wick said, "I don't need special armor for this." They got packed up and ready to go fight Darkseid, which the new dimensional warper now can warp a lot of people. Which the guys got together to warp to this new dimension to chase off Darkseid from Earth and hopefully convince him to stop his question of controlling everything. Darkseid is Izuku's dimension. The guys got warped into an abandoned warehouse, which Deadpool said, "Out of all the abandoned spots, you chose this one." Strange said, "I see no problem with this." Green Might said, "I am glad I came along with this. We are fighting for what's right." Anarchist nodded. "Punisher, you wanted a new tattoo. Like this?" The Anarchist showed a picture of the tattoo Punisher was describing, which he said, "We got time, so I would like it." Anarchist bin his work which Deadpool and Gaku's Yuko were watching to admire the artwork in progress. Green might ask Deku, "Why do I have a feeling he hates me?" Deku said, "He hates All Might in his universe for a reason. You do act a lot like him." "He doesn't hate you? He's more annoyed by you." Green Might said, "Okay, if I don't act like my dad, then he can stand me." Deku said, "That sounds about right." Anarchist asked, "Magneto, you sure you don't want a tattoo?" Magneto revealed his arm with his numbers, which Anarchist said, "I'm taking that as a no." They continued a bit which they did their research more on the world they are in. Hex said, "Darkseids, underlings are annoying, which is the reason why we came in large numbers." Strange said, "Exactly, there are a lot of them." They then see portals all around the city, which they decided to get involved in the situation. They had to help the Justice League to send Darkseid back to his land and destroy his transportation to Earth. They went to the battlefield where the Justice League was at, which they were struggling. Bakugo, going by Superman, was fighting Darkseid in a one-on-one fight which Darkseid was winning. Ida, going by Flash, was fighting off underlings with Momo, going by Wonder Woman. Tokoyami, imagine if he had a human head, who went by Batman, was with Mai, Cyborg, Kirishima, Green Lantern, and Denki, Shazam, trying to figure out how to use the Mother Box while fight the many underlings. Darkseid grabbed Bakugo's punch to throw him on round, then stepped on him to say, "It's over Superman, I win." Then shoots were heard as many underlings came down, then multiple pieces of metal came out of the sky, killing many underlings and impaling Darkseid. Darkseid demanded, "Who did that?" Deku came to punch Darkseid's face to say, "That would be us." Deadpool said, "We are here to save you from edgy Thanos." Darkseid in anger, "Don't you dare compare me to that purple bitch." Stark flew around defeating many airborne underlings, then land next to Might to ask, "You need help with that?" Green Might and Gaku landed next to Bakugo to ask, "Can we join this fight?" Bakugo smirked, "All right, you look strong." Anarchist landed next to Tokoyami to help him fight off multiple underlings, which Tokoyami looked at his armor to say, "That armor looks familiar." Anarchist said, "No, it doesn't." They processed to kick ass, which the team of Bakugo, Deku, Gaku, and Green Might were destroying Darkseid, which Stark and Mai figured out the Mother Box, which they were getting power for it. Denki came over to get them the power for it. Deadpool was having a blast slaughtering the underlings. Scarecrow then threw some of his gas at Darkseid, which he breathed it in, and he ran away in fear to the portal. They closed the portal, which Bakugo asked, "Who are you guys?" Firenze chuckled, "Fratramisti." The guys left, which Deadpool said, "That went too easy." Then the Izu book started going off, which they looked at it, which it revealed Joker is Yuku. The Anarchist shouted, "How? He died." The original members remembered how he died, but now he was alive and they needed answers on how he is alive. They quickly got warped to that dimension to find an older Bakugo and other heroes. The heroes were about to attack, but Bakugo said, "Hold your fire. These are not Joker, they are Azukas from different dimensions." Deku said, "Hello Kaken." Bakugo smiled, "Hello Deku, it's been a while. And I see you brought more friends." The Anarchist said, "Well, we just came back from a thing. We came to defeat Joker once again and figure out how he is alive." Bakugo said, "We are trying to figure out the same thing. Dr. Iriizumi would be glad to see you all again." The Anarchist said, "I'm going to look at places that he has been to try to find a pattern in attack." Venom, John Wick, Hex, Magneto, Deadshot, and Scarecrow went with the Anarchist in agreement, which they left to go to his locations. The rest went to see Iri, which she has grown a lot, which she was happy to see Deku and the others. Deku saw that she still has the stitching on her forehead, which she asked, "Where is the rest of the members that fought Joker?" Stark said, "They are checking location where the Joker attacked." Iri smiled, "Maybe they might find something." The guys looked around to see how Iri grew up, got married and has children. Deku, Stark, Punisher, and Firenze were proud of this universe as Eri grew up with a happy life. Bakugo said, "We will find Joker and bring him to justice." Eri smiled, "Good, but before you go, can I show everyone something?" Everyone nodded, which they went to a room which the door closed, which Eri put a mask on and released knockout gas to put everyone to sleep. She started laughing. "Good. Now for the others." The Anarchist, John Wick, Hex, Deadshot, Venom, Scarecrow, and Magneto. They looked at the latest location of the Joker's attack, which Anarchist said massacred about a few hundred people. "Monster." Magneto said, "This reminds me too much of my kidnapping." Hex asked, "Kidnapping?" Magneto said, "In my world, me and my mom were kidnapped, which they forced me to activate my quirk or my mom dies. I couldn't activate it until they killed her. When I activated it, metal started surrounded him. I started killing them until they knocked me out. They then put these numbers on me. I planned months to escape. Which when I killed them, all it turned out I wasn't in Japan. I was at Auschwitz. Which I began my life as a villain that the world fears." John Wick said, "I know what it means to lose something important as well." Venom said, "We also know that feeling as well." The Anarchist saw some men in clown masks approaching, which they jumped in to beat the crap out of them. They did amazing until one of the men released a gas to knock them out except Scarecrow. Scarecrow said, "You fools, I'm immune to every gas in existence." One of the men said, "Joke's on you. We have gas masks to protect us from your gases." Then Namu with a heavy-duty gas mask came to fight Scarecrow, which Scarecrow slashed the Namu but it kept healing. Then the Namu grabbed him to knock him out. Unknown location. Everyone woke up to see they had been restrained in different ways to prevent them from breaking free. The Anarchist saw Deku to ask, "How did you get captured?" Deku said, "We were following Eri until we smelled some gas and the next thing you know we ended up here." The Anarchist said, "We were looking for clues until Joker's men in Namus found us and knocked us out." Doctor Strange said, "We are going to meet the Joker again for some of us." Stark said, "Here we go again." Eri appeared to ask, "Where am I? Why are you all restrained?" The Anarchist was relieved. "Oh, thank God. Eri, can you help us out?" Eri said, "Okay." Then the TV in the room turned on to show video footage of Eri when she was younger killing Joker. Eri said, "Why is this playing? I don't want to remember. Every night I remember him killing me, reviving me, and the pain." She started laughing and laughing. Her body started morphing, which the Izuku were scared and in shock. Eri then morphed into the Joker, which he said, "Well, hello again." Deadpool and the Anarchist said, "Holy shit." The rest were in shock. Deadpool asked, "Are you still a girl or did you also grow a penis during your transformation?" Joker frowned, "I don't remember this fellow from last time." Bakugo asked, "Eri, you the Joker?" Joker said, "That brat doesn't even know I'm using her as a timeshare." Joker walked to a device then pointed at a black spot on the back of his neck. "In this mind is the mind of a genius years beyond in the future. In the week of having Eri, I used her as a test subject of my greatest experiment. Using genetics technology I encoded my DNA into this chip to set it into her brain." Everyone was shocked by the technology, which Stark said, "You just made immortality." The Anarchist said, "When I get out of these restraints and after I kick your ass out of Eri, I'm going to figure out how that chip works." Joker said, "At first I had to limit my time in Eri's body. She isn't aware of anything I do. If her family misses her, I simply call them to say, 'Sorry honey, I'm working late.'" They were creeped out by how Joker used Eri's voice, but Joker continued, "This device right here is what a villain girl version of me gave to me called an Izu book." Deku asked, "Miss Anarchy?" Joker snapped his fingers, "That was the name." The Anarchist said, "Damn it." Joker said, "With my mind and Eri's smarter mind, we hacked into it to take control of the TVs in your worlds to broadcast this thing live. Joker turned on the TV to see they are being broadcast live on TVs in Japan in their dimensions. Stark said, with kind of intelligences, you could have cured cancer or made really great technology. Joker smiled, we are going to play a game. He revealed a wheel that had pictures of every Izuku that he restrained. He said, we are going to play memory or truth or dare. Whoever this wheel lands on, they will choose to reveal their deepest darkest memory, their deepest darkest secret, or do a dare of my choosing. Deadpool said, this sounds like fun. Green Knight said, well, this isn't good. Goku said, crap. Scarecrow, Punisher, Anarchist, Deku, Stark, Firenze, Wick, Hex, Deadshot, Venom, Constantine, and Magneto were not happy about this. Joker spanned the wheel for it to land on the Anarchist, which Joker asked, memory, truth, or dare? Chapter 46, Joker's Revenge. The Joker has captured everyone and has then playing his game. Our boy is first. What will Joker do? What is their way out and how will beat the Joker? Let's find out. Joker asked, memory, truth, or dare? The Anarchist smirked, dare. Joker giggled, reveal your darkest, memory and truth. The Anarchist said, fuck me. The Joker said, on your heads are helmets that take your memory and puts them on the TV for everyone to see, which makes it easier for people to see what you are talking about. Deadpool said, Jesus Christ, there goes my browser history. Stark said, I'm going to take some of this technology with me. Joker said, enough. Now come on, Anarchist, reveal it. On the Anarchist's screen revealed Izuku going to a basement under his building, which he looked at his watch to say, it's almost time. The other Izukus were wondering what he was thinking about. On the screen of the Anarchist's world, people were on their feet. The Anarchist turned on the TV and put on a New England's Patriots jersey and watched an American football game with the Patriots versus the New York Jets. The Anarchist cheered for the Patriots' victory and then the screen turned black. The Anarchist said, it's true. I'm a New England Patriots fan. Deadpool shouted, you son of a bitch. Stark shouted, no. I thought we were friends until I saw that. This really questions our friendship here. The Anarchist said, sorry, I can't hear you all over the number of Super Bowl trophies we have. Meanwhile, in the Anarchist's world, people were asking themselves about that memory. Melissa said, I didn't know he actually watched football. David said, I'm going to watch a game with him when he gets out of that. Jin shouted, that bastard. I thought he was a Raiders fan. All Might at his home said, only villains support the Patriots. Joker was pissed and electrocuted the Anarchist, that wasn't your darkest secret and memory. Well, aren't you a fighter? The Anarchist said, sorry. But you have to work for it. Joker said, let's try again. The screen turned on again, but it was the Anarchist dressing up in a disguise walking up to a house. He knocked on the door, which Engie answered the door, and how he kidnapped him. Then gave him to Dabi to torture him and then turned him to Anamu. The Anarchist laughed, I was the one who kidnapped Endeavor and turned him to Anamu. It's under Dabi's control and he goddamn deserved it. Joker giggled as he shot his leg to say, that isn't your darkest secret and memory. I guess I have to show you an example. Joker went over to Magneto to play his memory of his kidnapping, the death of his mother, the other children he was forced to kill and put them in ovens, to the day he killed everyone in the camp, from the other kidnapped children to the adult kidnappers and guards. The Izuku saw that he acted out in rage and the other children were forced to fight him to put him down or kill him. Magneto cried, no more. No more. Joker laughed and turned it off, which Deadpool said, Joker, you are an asshole. Joker laughed, now Anarchist, reveal your deepest darkest secret. The Anarchist laughed, why do you need something like that? Joker said, you are almost like me except you have morals and don't kill. I want you to become me. The Anarchist said, I would like to see you try. The screen turned on to show Izuku when he was younger, about 13. He was nervous around the women he would do deals with, which Grin noticed. Grin said, I think I know how to fix your problem, Izuku. Izuku said, please show me. Izuku followed Grin to a strip club which Grin said, these lovely ladies will help you out. The other Izukus looked at the screen in shock that he went to a strip club at this age to help him gain his confidence. The anarchist said, I still visit on Thursdays, shout out to Diamond Destiny. I'll be there at my usual time. In the anarchist's world, Grin, who was with the guys, said, I have nothing to say, but it worked. Inko and Sensei came through a warp gate which Inko say, after this I have some words for you after this. Grin said, yes madam. The screen was still playing. He left the building the next day to say, thanks Grin, I learned a lot. Grin, in shock, you were in there all night? The anarchist said, yeah. They taught me a lot. Grin asked, did you pay them? The anarchist said, they said I did so well I didn't have to pay them. Grin grabbed his shoulders, can you tell me what you did to them? The screen turned off. Joker punched the anarchist's gut, which Deadpool shouted, I wanted to know what he did to them. Venom said, we too want to know the answer. Constantine and Hex wanted answers as well to that memory, which Joker said, you are one tough nut to break. The anarchist said, I told you. You have to work for my deepest, darkest memory. In other worlds, everyone was pissed because they wanted the answers to what he did to the strippers. Dabi in the anarchist's world said, I didn't know he went to a strip club, but I want to know what the hell he did to them. Higashi said, we will ask him when he gets back. Meanwhile with Joker, Joker said, well let's try again until you get it right. The screen turned on to show static and no sound. Joker laughed, he is fighting it. He is finding something that he can reveal. Then it revealed a snowy terrain in Antarctica, which is Yuka from 7 months before, shouted, Jesus fucking Christ. It's too goddamn cold. A man in a German accent, the weather is always cold. Don't be such a baby. Izuku said, easy for you to say, Hans. I came for the trade deal and technology. They stopped at a hatch in the ground which they entered it to a room to take off their jackets to then take an elevator. They went deep underground to find a highly advanced civilization with technology more advanced than what they have. Everyone in multiple worlds were wondering about this memory, which Deku asked, who are these people? Stark said, I second what he asked. They got out of the elevator to reveal men in Nazi outfit doing the salute, which the anarchist said, it's true. The Nazis escaped and hid underground. Hans said, we are also on the moon. The anarchist asked, the moon? Then a man riding on a T-Rex came riding to them to say, I see our guest has arrived. Hans saluted, yes my Führer. Izuku did the salute to not be rude, which Izuku looked at him closer to say, it can't be. Hitler said, it is I. Adolf Hitler, the leader of the Reich. Joker giggled, this is a real memory, and this is a dark secret. The Nazis are alive in his world. And he has a trade deal with them. But that isn't his darkest secret. Deadpool said, you monster, you are working with the Nazis. The anarchist said, they had what I needed, and they aren't going to invade the world. Yet. John Wick said, when we get out of this, we are going to kill those Nazis and kick your ass. The anarchist said, they have dinosaurs. Do you not see Hitler riding a T-Rex? Deadshot said, that makes it better. The anarchist said, they also have a base on the fucking moon. Gaku said, not a problem. Joker tasted Gaku to say, okay anarchist, you are going off topic. I guess I have to kill someone you care about to get you to do it. The anarchist felt his hand dislocation to free one of his hands, but he needed time to relocate it. Fine, I will go to my deepest darkest memory. But don't kill anyone. The screen revealed the anarchist with Mirio trying to get him to stop fighting or he will die. Mirio fell to the ground, which the anarchist was trying to save him, which Mirio was asking why he was trying to save him. Joker smiled, perfect? You finally going to reveal it? The anarchist relocated his hand to see Joker still looking at the screen, which he started, uncuff himself. The other Izuku were watching the screens too and didn't notice the anarchist was uncuffing himself. In the anarchist's world, Sensei knew Lemillion died from the raid on Izuku's old base. But he wasn't given an accurate report on his death, which Izuku was sad to lose his rival and he wanted to watch this. Mirio got on top Izuku to feed Izuku his hair, which Izuku asked, "What did you do to me?" Mirio chuckled, "You have a coup." The screen went static. Joker turned around to see the anarchist in rage punched his face. The Izuku see that anarchist got free to beat the shit out of the Joker. Joker pulled out his knife to stab anarchist, but anarchist put his hand to get his hand stabbed. The anarchist grabbed the knife to pull it out of his hand to stab Joker's shoulder. Joker laughed, "Use it. Use it. Show the world your greatest lie." The anarchist pulled out Joker's taser to say, "Burn in hell, motherfucker." The anarchist tased the chip on Joker's neck. Joker shouted, "Nah ooh." The chip exploded, which Joker disappeared and the body turned back to Eri. The anarchist got up to say, "I'll get you out. Let me just turn off this device." Deku said, "Reveal your secret. We deserve to know." The anarchist growled, "I will kill you if you ask me again." Scarecrow said, "I knew you are afraid. But this fear is strong enough for you to rather reveal the Nazis instead." Magneto said, "My deepest, darkest memory was revealed. I want yours in exchange." The anarchist was getting angry from the other Izuku's wanting answers and trying to turn off the machine that was broadcasting this, which he yelled, "You want the truth? Fine, Mirio gave me one for motherfucking all before he fucking died." The Izukus were in shock, which he continued, "You bastards heard me. Before that day I told the truth that I was quirkless, but after that day my truth became a lie. A goddamn lie. Mirio took away my honesty and turned it into a lie. I gave the quirk to someone else, but I still have the quirk in me. I refuse to use it. Because I don't want it, but I don't have the heart to erase it from me. Because if I did..." Deku said, "You can see him with the quirk." The anarchist said, "Yes, I can see him and talk to him with the quirk. I will never use the quirk even if my life depended on it." He looked at the screens to shouted, "Fuck, I didn't turn this goddamn thing off." The anarchist looked at Eri to pull out a crowbar to smash the device to pieces, which turned off everything. He went up to uncuff, which they got their stuff, which Green Might said, "Anarchist." The anarchist growled, "Not one word. Please." The other Izukus could see he was angry and sad, which they are going to give him space, which he said, "Time to go home. I'm going to hide in my world for a while." The anarchist's dimension, after he got them back home, he warped himself to his vacation home in Italy, which he needed time for all this to die down. He said, "I'll wait this out. I hope no one comes looking for me." Izuku looked at his warping device to say, "I guess I will be traveling for a while and maybe find something to help me with my situation." Izuku packed up, put on red contact lens to make his eyes red, dyed his hair red, put makeup to cover his freckles, then pulled out a fake ID to say, "My name is Akamakichi, first." Izuku then warped out of the house to begin his journey to find himself and for the thing to die down. Meanwhile, in Japan 3 days later, everyone was still in shock by the events that Izuku had a quirk for a while and he didn't tell anyone except Tsurugitai, All Might, Shinso, and Nezu. But they didn't know that he still has it still, which All Might thought he was going to erase the rest of what he had, but he didn't. Sensei knew how the quirk worked, but after Izuku admitted it on the screen, he didn't know how to react to it. The whole seeing past users thing made him more interested in it. But he knew Izuku was pissed off at the moment. Inko said, "I need to talk to him." Dabi looked at a device he had. He was at his vacation home in Italy until he destroyed the tracker. He is officially off the grid. Melissa said, "We need to find him. He is going to be a father." Tamura said, "He is my brother, I have questions for him." Overhaul came to ask, "Where's Izuku?" Dabi said, "He went off the grid." "Why?" Overhaul said, "Interpol is after him again, but this time, They want him to lead them to the Nazis. Sensei said, if we were Izuku, where we go? The Himalayas. Izuku was currently climbing Mount Everest, which he sneezed to say, I guess the world is still thinking about me. He continued climbing to reach the top to look down at the world. He gazed at the beauty to then take a picture. He then saw a spot that had trees and buildings, which he got a glider on to say, let's check that out. Chapter 47 Izuku's World Adventures Part 1. Izuku is going on a world adventure with his warping device to deal with his problems. Compress, Sensei, Dabi, Overhaul, and Tamura are going around the world to find him. What will Izuku be doing? Let go. Izuku was gliding above some ancient buildings that he assumed Buddhist design. He then crash-landed in a spring, which he got up to look around. Then he heard, hello there. Izuku turned around to see 3 men in robes, which Izuku noticed it was warm at the location. Izuku asked, where am I? One of the men said, you are in the lost city of Shangri-La. Izuku looked around. Indeed a nice place. Are the legends true about immortality here? The men nodded, which one of them said, allow us to introduce ourselves, I am Banko. Another one said, I'm An. The last one said, I'm Isin. Izuku said, I have questions about this place. Then a few big white fur creatures came into view, which Banko said, don't mind the Yetis, they are friends. Izuku was in shock that he has seen real-life Yetis, which they headed to a table to enjoy some yak tea, and Izuku began asking questions. Compress, Sensei, Overhaul, Dabi, and Tamura. The guys were in Izuku's Italian vacation home to find the clues of where he went to. Overhaul noticed the bottles of red hair dye, Dabi found the red contact lens box, and Compress looked through a folder full of fake ID to see one of them is missing. Sensei looked at the folder, which ID was at this spot. Dabi shrugged, who knows, but he has disguised himself to match the ID. Tamura looked around to find a card with the Himalayas on it, which he said, I have a theory on where he went. Tamura picked up the card to show everyone, but a bullet shot through the card, which they turned to see Interpol agents coming in. Sensei said, holy shit. Imagine his voice as old Joseph from Stardust Crusaders. They turned to the Interpol agent to destroy them with ease. Overhaul picked up the cars to repair it. The Himalayas. I guess we know where to go next. The guys nodded, which they warped to the Himalayas to find more clues and Izuku had fun with the Yetis and the monks, which then they showed the way out. Izuku looked at his burner phone to see he was in China, which he said, now let's make a name for this Akamakichi. He saw a farmer with some yaks. He asked, where are you headed? The farmer didn't understand him, which Izuku tried again in Chinese, which the farmer responded with zigays. Izuku looked on his map to then head with him on his adventure. After a few days, they reached the city. He found an airport outside the city, which he paid a guy to fly him to Beijing. When he landed in Beijing, he looked around to see if the air is terrible as the people say it was. He looked to find a hotel to spend the night at, which he used his private bank account from a bank account he doesn't reveal because it for emergency use. Izuku woke up to watch TV to see the news to show freedom fighters that has been captured and to be executed in the city square. Izuku smirked. I guess Kichi will help out. Should I use this quirk? I can use 55% safely and with some of the other quirks. Fuck it. Izuku got on his clothes, then found a Hacker Anonymous mask on the streets. He then said, okay, let's do this again. Izuku did eventually wanted to see what he could do with Ofa, so he experimented on some of his free time. He learned to let the power flow through him and how to use black weapon permeation a while ago. He went to the city square to see the 100 freedom fighters about to get executed. He turned to how many soldiers there were. He then smirked. It's go time. He used the quirk and in a flash he defeated the firing squad and the snipers. He looked at the fighters and freed them. He said in Chinese, go get some weapons. We can take them over right here, right now. The men nodded, which they got weapons to fight, which the military brought really big robots. Izuku destroyed them with extreme power and bullets couldn't hurt him because permeation. He wasn't naked because ever since he learned that he still had off and he has permeation, he broke into the lab that made Mirio's suit to steal his suit to turn it into the clothes Izuku is wearing. Izuku and the freedom fighters made it to the president's bunker, which Izuku went through it with permeation to beat up the president's security. Izuku used Black Whip to keep the president from attacking, which Izuku opened the bunker to give him to the fighters. The leader asked, "Who are you?" Izuku said, "My name is Akamakichi." The leader said, "What you did was reckless, but brave, and we thank you for it." Izuku said, "I'm very humble." The leaders of the fighters made a new China by bringing back the older system of turning China into multiple independent states. Izuku got his picture taken, and then after 3 days, the new president of Beijing asked, "Is there anything we can give you?" Izuku smirked, "I heard the old government had an important ship to my country." He nodded, which they went to a secret naval base to find the long-lost ship of the Imperial Japanese ship Yamato. Izuku asked, "How did they find it?" The president said, "In the reports it crashed near Vietnam and they repaired it then brought it here." Izuku said, "I want the ship to go here." Izuku showed the president the location, which he nodded. Then Izuku took a plane to fly to his next place to visit. Izuku smirked, "New York, here I come." Tamura, Sensei, Compress, Dabi, and Overhaul. They asked the people who overlooked the mountain. They showed pictures of people who have gone up the mountain. Overhaul saw Izuku with his dyed red hair, red eyes, and makeup to cover his freckles to say, "That's him." The young people at the station said, "He has been at the mountain for a while, about a week." The old man said, "Actually 5 days, he left a while ago." The guys looked at the old man, which Sensei asked, "How do you know?" The old man chuckled, "My great-grandpa told me, he lives deep in the mountains. I can show you." Tamura asked, "How old is your great-grandpa?" The old man chuckled, "About 200, maybe more." Sensei was in shock that there was someone who was as old as him, which they followed him into the mountains. Dabi had his fire going, which the old man said, "Put the fire out, the Yetas aren't going to like the blue flames you are making." Compress asked, "Yetas?" The old man said, "They are real, you are about to see them soon." They continued until they reached Shangri-La, which the old man said, "Welcome to the lost city of Shangri-La." The 5 were in shock that it was real, and they were seeing it. Then they saw the Yetis. Tamura was absolutely terrified by them. Dabi went to play with one of them, and Compress didn't know what to think of them. Overhaul and Sensei went to the 3 monks for questions on multiple subjects. Then Sensei asked, "Did you know where Izuku went?" Banko said, "Izuku? We met a redhead named Akamakichi. He headed to China last we saw him." Then and turned on the radio, which they were reporting the insurgency in Beijing and new countries being made out of China, which the 5 concluded that it was Izuku. They then warped to Beijing, which Sensei has connections in China to help them find Izuku. Izuku landed in New York City, which he was glad to arrive to. The city, he went to a hotel to get some sleep. The next day, he went around in art museums and getting lost on the streets. Izuku had to use a fat to climb up building because he didn't have his usual weapons with him, and he didn't have anything in New York. Izuku was forced to use the quirk to hide his identity, and because he didn't have his tools. He has defeated many thugs and villains that attacked him. Izuku then said, "This quirk is too goddamn useful." He heard Miru say, "I'm glad you are using it well and for good." Izuku said, "Quiet, Mirio. If you didn't pull a 1,000,000% bullshit, we won't be here." Sensei Chang asked, "Are you going to use my quirk yet?" Izuku asked, "What is your quirk?" Sensei Chang chuckled, "It's what I call fading. It allows the user fade away to another location, fade to be unaffected by damage or to be invisible, and make clones of yourself that are weaker than yourself." Izuku asked, "How did you lose your fight with All for One?" Sensei Chang said, He defeated my clones with ease and the many other factors were involved as well. Izuku-san then found a strip club which he found those places very comfortable, which he came down to go inside the building to find it full of people. He sat down at a table to order a few drinks, which he was enjoying himself until he saw one of the waitresses being harassed by some ugly bastards. One of them were about to grab her until Izuku grabbed them with black whip to then throw them out of the building. The waitress said, "Thanks." Izuku said, "Don't mention it." He continued to relax until the waitress came back to give him a good time. They headed back to his hotel to get it on, which she was shocked by his rod. Which he had a great time. He then continued to explore the city to then go on top of the Empire State Building to take some pictures. He then went to the airport which he said, "I'm going to Argentina." Sensei, Tamura, overhaul, dabi, and compress. The guys went to Beijing's Triad, Yakuza is Japanese, with they are known as the Crimson Dragons. The boss said, "All for one. The kid you are looking for has fled the country which these new countries have helped us actually. We are more in charge than we ever were." Overhaul asked, "Do you know where he went?" The boss said, "Our reports tell us New York City." Compress said, "Yer days. Here we go again." They turned around at once to leave the building which Dabi said, "I hope he doesn't cause too much trouble in New York." They then warped to go to New York to see nothing was in flames, which was a good sign, but after looking at the reports they saw that there were reports of a vigilante who went around beating up thugs and villains that were around him. They looked at the pictures of him which Izuku never bothered putting on a mask, which they followed his tracks. Izuku was on a boat going from Argentina to Antarctica, which Izuku for reasons was getting more dinosaur DNA to keep making dinosaurs so he can sell them. Izuku is a dinosaur seller, which was something a person couldn't just go around saying because it would make them sound crazy. He took a snowmobile and head out to find the secret entrance to the Fifth Reich, which he feels uncomfortable when he thinks about it. Nana said, "I can't believe you are going to sit down and talk about trade with Hitler." Mirio said, "You are literally going to talk and sit with pure evil." Sensei Chang, being reasonable, said, "I have some question for him. If you and him don't mind." The bald user, which Izuku dubs as Make-A-Wish, said, "Really? You have questions?" Sensei Chang said, "It's not every day someone gets to talk with Hitler, might as well get some questions off my chest." Izuku said, "Sure thing, Sensei Chang." The first user asked, "What do you trade with him?" Izuku said, "Right now, it's dinosaur DNA for information and plutonium." Make-A-Wish in shock, "Plutonium? Well, we are screwed because of you." Izuku said, "Shut up so I can talk with the evilest man in history. I already hate coming here." Mirio asked, "Why did you accept this in the beginning?" Izuku said, "Hans showed me the technology at what I believed to be a reasonable price for such great technology, which I asked him to take me to the supplier. We came to the place and I thought they must be great people, until I saw the uniforms and swastikas, which then I realized it was too late to back out. Then I saw Hitler on a team motherfucking Rex, which I realized that I'm going to hell for this, which is why I'm planning to gain immortality." Izuku then saw the hatch which he got off the snowmobile to then move the fake snow pile to then enter the room under the hatch. He then got in the room to sigh. Here we go again. Chapter 48, Izuku's World Adventure Part 2. Back at Japan, everyone was worried for Izuku, which Izuku's girlfriends, Iri, Gon, and his mom were worried the most. Over at Izuku's base of operations, things were still running like normal, which Jun and Iguchi somehow keeping the place together. Which Melissa said, "When he gets back, I got some words for him for leaving without saying a word." Kyoka said, "He also needs to be honest about a few things." Mai said, Much I love technology, I can't work with Nazi tech for legal and moral reasons." Toga asked, "Am I the only one who wanted to know what he did to the strippers?" The phone rang, which Inko picked it up. "Hello. Sensei on the other end." "Well, we haven't found him yet, but so far we are at New York City and now he went to Argentina. We are getting close to him." Right now he is disguised as a person named Akamakichi. He overthrew the Chinese government, found the lost city of Shangri-La, and has went to a strip club to relax a bit according to the witnesses. Inko sighed, he overthrew another government. Find him. We are not mad at him for having a quirk in secret or ashamed of it. But he needs to get his ass back, here for an explanation. Sensei said, yes honey. She put up the phone to say, watch the news for a person named Akamakichi. They looked at the news sources and saw multiple reports which they saw his picture. Melissa said, he thinks he could put on red hair dye, red contact lens, and makeup. And people won't recognize him. Kyoka sighed, he is responsible for overthrowing the Chinese government. I'm not surprised in the slightest. Melissa said, when he gets back, we will make it to where he regrets leaving us without reason. Izuku was now in Hitler's house sitting across Hitler, which he was wearing the t-shirt Izuku sent him on his birthday. The shirt reads I did nothing wrong, which the previous users, except Sensei Chang, who was laughing his ass off, were pissed at Izuku for giving him such a shirt. Hitler loved it and plans on wearing it almost every day, which after they talked trade Izuku asked, you mind if I ask some questions? Hitler said, you can ask me some questions. Sensei Chang in his head, I never thought Hitler would be so chill. The other users looked at him because how he was talking about Hitler. Izuku asked, how are you alive for this long? Hitler said, back during my leadership, we found the fountain of youth and we drained it to research the water. We learned that if you add water to the fountain's water it kills all bacteria in the water and the new water gets the healing properties as well. I was the first to drink for it, but we learned the only way to die is to be cremated, and once you drink it you stop aging. Izuku in awe by that Hitler was immortal and he knew how to kill him, which Izuku asked, this question is going to sound unusual but do you have a vampire army in Brazil? Hitler said, they just left Brazil to go to London. Izuku asked, how did you get to the moon? Hitler chuckled, we had a secret space program just in case, which we sent a lot of men to the dark side of the moon and built a large base, which they developed a warp gate and sent our men here how to build it. Izuku sighed. Do any of your people have quirks? Hitler said, none of us have quirks, we are all quirkless. Izuku then looked at him, last question, did you learn your lesson with Russia? Hitler sighed, I should have waited for Britain to surrender and keep telling Japan to not piss off the USA. Izuku nodded, well that is all the questions I have, I wish you a good day and many more that follow. Hitler nodded, which Izuku left to think, that went well. Sensei, Overhaul, Dabi, Atsuhiro, and Tamura. They made it to Argentina to follow Izuku's tracks, which they saw Interpol agent, and like usual Sensei would use air cannon to defeat them with ease. Then they saw he took a trip to Antarctica, which they didn't want to go there, which they decided to wait in the country for his return. Dabi sighed, he is probably talking with Adolf Hitler at this moment. Sensei said, I always wanted to meet him and ask some questions. Tamura said, I'm curious on how Izuku found him. Overhaul said, I bet it would be an interesting story. Atsuhiro said, I bet his girlfriends and his mother back in Japan are going to give him hell when he gets back. The guys nodded, which they heard the ship that came back from Antarctica, they headed to it to see Izuku warping, which they were a little pissed. Izuku warped back to America, but to California, the state Melissa was born, which he was going to get stuff for her as an apology for leaving without saying anything. He went to Disneyland in California to get some Mickey merchandise for her and the others, then he got lost and ended up in the vault where Walt Disney is frozen. He looked at him to say, I wonder if the new formula works on this. He then unfroze Walt to then inject the new stim pack into Walt, which fully healed him and got him to normal body temperature. Walt woke up to asked, what year is it? Izuku smiled, this is year 2XXX. Walt in shock, I've been gone for a long. I must see my child Mickey and how Disney is doing. Izuku said, I will explain what you missed and what your creation has become. After 3 hours of explaining the technology, quirks, and Disney becoming an empire, Walt said, I did not make Disney to take control of everyone and everything. I made it to spread happiness and joy to everyone. I must stop this madness. Then a door opened which revealed Mickey, Donald, and Goofy, which Mickey said, I'm sorry father, but we have to freeze you again. Walt asked, how can you do this, son? Why? Mickey said, the CEO sends his regards. Izuku got in a fighting stance and Walt pulled a pipe to use it as a weapon. Mickey, Goofy, and Donald pulled out red lightsabers, which Izuku chuckled, it's a good thing I made lightsabers just in case. Izuku pulled out 2 green lightsabers for himself, then gave Walt a purple one, which they began to fight. Walt fought Mickey and Izuku fought Donald and Goofy, which Izuku was struggling because it turned out Goofy and Donald were really good. Walt was holding his own with Mickey, which Mickey said, Father, I don't want to kill you, please. Walt said, this is wrong, you were supposed to bring happiness and joy to people around the world, not make a monopoly on entertainment. You became the very thing you swore to destroy. Izuku said, Star Wars reference. Walt asked, what? Izuku said, after this, we are going to watch Star Wars for you to understand what I mean. Walt said, I really have catching up to do. Mickey said, enough. Mickey then kicked Walt to the chamber. Izuku then defeated Goofy and Donald by chopping their hands off and knocking them out. Mickey then used the force to push him in the chamber. A man appeared to say, good Mickey. Good. Mickey said, yes, Lord Iger. Iger said, you know what you have to do. Mickey sadly said, to refreeze them. Iger chuckled, no. You must kill them. Mickey looked at him, what? Iger said, do it. Mickey looked at Walt, which he said, if continue down this path, I want you to know that I still love you. Mickey teared up, then turned to Iger to say, I will not kill my father. Iger said, so it's treason then. Iger released lightning at Mickey, which Mickey blocked it, then went up to kill Iger. Walt got up to say, Mickey. Mickey went up to Walt to hug him. I'm sorry I fell down this path. Walt said, it's alright. I'm here with you now. Which after a few hours of Walt's return to being in charge of Disney, he released many entertainment companies, which Izuku left to go to his next destination, which would be Egypt, to go exploring the pyramids, and he was given a pass to come to Disneyland and Disney World for free for life. Izuku chuckled as he took a picture with the gang, then warped to the pyramids to go exploring. Sensei, Overhaul, Atsuhiro, Dabi, and Tamura. The guys looked for their next lead, which Tamura saw what happened at Disneyland, which the guys looked at it. Dabi said, he went back to America. Atsuhiro said, here we go again. They warped to Disneyland to find Walt and Mickey, which they told them Izuku went to Egypt to explore the pyramids. Sensei said, this time we are going to catch him and bring him home for an explanation. The guys nodded, which they warped to Egypt to continue their search. Chapter 49, Izuku's World Adventure Part 3. Izuku is in Egypt to explore the pyramids, then he has more places to go. How long until he returns to Japan? Will the 5 Stardust Crusaders catch Izuku and bring him back? Izuku was now inside the pyramid looking for a way out. How did he get to this point, one might ask? Well, he put his stuff in a hole he found in a pyramid that wasn't explored yet. Then he used Mirio's quirk to walk in the pyramid. Izuku has seen a lot of stuff and took pictures of what he found, which he was going to sell the pictures and videos. He had glow sticks just in case his batteries and his flashlight died. He had plenty of food but was prepared to kill some rats for food, and he wasn't panicked by the situation. A younger Izuku Madrayo would be panicking by the situation, which he was glad for his life as a villain. Izuku then saw a coffin made of gold, which Izuku looked in a book of coffins of Egyptian pharaohs to find they weren't discovered yet. Izuku sighed, I'm not fucking with that, but I'm taking pictures of this. Izuku took some pictures, then continued his search for an exit, which he then saw a tall figure that looked dog-like. Izuku looked at it coming towards him, with he pointed his flashlight at it, which he saw the monster, and Izuku said, you are one ugly bastard. The monster roared at him and Izuku ran the other direction cursing, Fuck. 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 The monster was running after him, which Izuku needed a plan for this monster, which he remembered he could fight that thing with quirks. He turned around to use Ofat to punch that monster in the face. The monster flew back. Izuku laughed. That was fun. The monster got back up, which Izuku said, "Looks like you want more." The monster nodded in agreement. Izuku was a little freaked out that the monster understood what he was saying. They continued to fight, which the beast clawed at him and Izuku threw it around and beat it up. Sensei Chang in his head said, "Izuku, run away." Izuku said, "Why, I'm kicking its ass." Sensei Chang said, "That's Anubis you're fighting, you are not going to win." Izuku asked, "What the fuck is an Anubis?" Sensei Chang grunted, "Anubis is the Egyptian god of determining if you go to hell or get resurrected." Izuku in shock, "I'm fighting a god?" Anubis got up again, which Izuku turned tail to haul ass from Anubis, which Izuku yelled, "Fuck off. I'm not going to hell." Anubis kept chasing after him with great speed, which Izuku is forced to use Ofat to make him lose Anubis. Izuku then lost him, which Izuku said, "I can't believe I'm lost in a pyramid with a god that determines if I go to hell or resurrect." Sensei Chang said, "Did I say hell? I meant afterlife, which is basically hell for you." Izuku said, "But that's for the evil, right?" Sensei Chang said, "He has to rip your heart out to determine it with a scale if you are good or evil." Izuku chuckled, "What kind of bullshit system is that?" Izuku heard Anubis roar, which he said, "This pyramid is to keep him in, so I'm going to get myself out the hard way." Izuku then punched walls down, which until he came upon a pitfall with spears, which he thought, "I have an idea." He turned around to see Anubis was coming, which he used Black Whip to grab him and threw him in the pit, which Anubis was not happy, and I made the ceiling collapse and fill the pit with rocks. Izuku asked, "You think that will hold him?" Sensei Chang said, "Hell if I know. I never fought a god before." Izuku said, "Let's find a way out of here." Izuku then ran around until he found a secret door, which he closed it when he got through it, then found his way out. Izuku then went to a bar, which several men who saw him enter the pyramid look at him in shock. Izuku sighed, "What the fuck are you looking at?" A man got up to say, "You survived the pyramid that no one has ever came out of. What did you find?" Izuku said, "I found some nice pictures, statues, and the Egyptian god Anubis, which I kicked its ass." The people got up in shock, asking questions, which Izuku just went to get some alcohol in his system, then showed his pictures and video footage off of the god. The people were in shock that their god is real, which Izuku said, "I'm not going back in that, I mean fuck that shit." A man said, "Well, this just proves that no one should be going in the tombs." Izuku said, "I thought I was going to face traps and whatnot. But not a god, so you continue to tell people to not go in the pyramids and I will go somewhere else." Izuku got out his warp device to warp to Greece because he needed to get some sunshine and look at the culture of the ruins. Izuku arrived in Greece to look around at, and he was enjoying the trip, except for the muggers trying to rob him. But Izuku kicks their asses with ease. Then Izuku came across the statue of Artemis, which he took some pictures. Izuku said, "She must be fun to go on a hunt with." A young teenage girl next to Izuku giggled, "What are you talking about?" Izuku smiled, "I think it would be fun to go hunting with Artemis." "What's wrong with that?" The girl giggled, "I'm not Artemis, but if you are looking for a hunt, then I can show you a place to hunt." Izuku looked at her to say, "Sure. Lead the way." She leads him to a forest that was really quiet and peaceful. Izuku asked quietly, "Can I have a bow and a few arrows?" The girl looked at him, "Really?" Izuku said quietly, "I'm sorry, but this forest is peaceful, and I don't want to make too much noise to scare off the wildlife." The girl chuckled, "No. I'm surprised that you want to hunt the old way of bow and arrow until like most people with their guns and loud noises." Izuku chuckled, "I'm not like most people." She pulled out a bow for each of them and a few arrows, which after a while of hunting, they hunted a few deer, bears, and a boar. They had a campfire going which they were sitting in the dark telling campfire stories. Izuku then said, "That is how I escaped the tomb." The girl giggled, "That must have been scary." Izuku said, "Yeah, it was. I didn't think I could have survived that one." The girl then told the story of what happened to Orion the hunter who hunted with Artemis died in a hunting accident. "I know there are multiple stories on how he died, but I'm choosing this one," which Izuku said, "Dang. What a bad accident, but I'm real sure Orion forgives Artemis." The girl asked, "What do you mean?" Izuku chuckled, "I'm real sure Orion was a good guy to where he would understand it was an accident and wanted her to move on. He wouldn't want her to dwell on the past and want to see her happy even when he wasn't around." The girl smiled, "You think so?" Izuku smiled, "Of course I do. But I'm not specialist on God relations and I have proof of that." Izuku then stretched a bit before saying, "I'm going to sleep." The girl came up to him to kiss him which Izuku asked, "Are you sure you want to continue?" The girl nodded which Izuku smiled, "Can I get a name first?" The girl shined with light to say, "I'm the goddess of the moon, the hunt, forest and hills, wild animal, virginity, wildness, childbirth, and archery. I'm Artemis." Izuku looked at her in shock but they continued which the next morning Izuku woke up and she disappeared. He checked his stuff to see nothing was stolen so he gets up to look around then he headed to Athens to get a few pictures. He then looked at the pictures to see the girl from last night in one of the shots. He turned around to find a coin on the ground behind him with the picture of a crescent moon and arrows on it. He smirked before putting it in his pocket then warped to his next location. Sensei, Overhaul, Atsuhiro, Dabi, and Tamura. They arrived at Egypt to look around for clues, which they came across a bar with pictures of Izuku and a monster he looks to be fighting, and signs read "This is why you don't go into the pyramids." Tamura asked the bartender, "What are those pictures of?" The bartender said, "The only man who has entered and came out of the unescapable pyramid that was recently found." He brought back pictures and video of what he found. Which he found, fought, and temporarily defeated the Egyptian god Anubis. Sensei asked, "The Anubis?" The bartender clicked a button on a remote to turn on the TV to watch Izuku's adventure in the pyramid. They saw a fight with the god and how he defeated it which, Dabi said, "Okay, he is picking fights with gods. We need to get him back home before he does something worse." The bartender chuckled, "A team went in the pyramid today, but one came back with more proof of Anubis, which we are going to add it to the wall." He said, "If I see the guy who came out of the tomb first to tell him thanks for showing the way out." Overhaul said, "We will tell Izuku for you." They sat and watched the latest survivors video, which they could see the damage put on the god which was now scared. Atsuhiro asked, "Did you know where Izuku went?" The bartender said, "He got drunk and said he is heading to Greece to soak up some culture." The five guys then left the bar to head to Greece for their search which they looked at the places he has been. They couldn't find a lead when they got to Athens which they were about to sit and wait, until Sensei sat down. An old man next to him asked, "You are looking for someone?" Sensei chuckled, "You could say that." The old man said, "I'm just thinking about my children." "You got kids?" Sensei said, "I have no biologic kids, but I have kids that I became a father figure to two of them and took them in as my own." The old man chuckled, "Children are crazy and unpredictable. But you can't hate them." Sensei smiled, "I have to agree with you on that one." The god man gave him a card with a picture of a beach and reads, "Come visit Australia." The old man got up to leave which Sensei asked, "What is your name, if I may ask?" The old man chuckled, "Call me Zeus." In a blink of his eyes Zeus disappeared. Sensei looked at the card which Sensei said, "We are going to Australia." Izuku was surfing on the beaches of Australia which he was having a blast until he saw a shark. He swam away from the shark then he asked, "Where should I go?" Izuku then decided to get dressed for the Sydney Opera House to relax and listen to music. He enjoyed the music until someone sat next to him to ask, "You mind if I sit here?" Izuku said, I don't mind. The man said, what a great performance we have here. Izuku recognized the voice and looked to see he was sitting next to Morgan Freeman. Quirk, perfect voice. Morgan asked, what brings you here? Izuku said, I got things to think about and figure out. Morgan said, we got time and I can help you. Izuku raised an eyebrow, are you sure? Morgan smiled, of course. Izuku asked, you know who I am? Morgan said, Izuku Midoriya. The most powerful quirkless villain before Joker and your other dimensional selves made you reveal your secret. Izuku in shock, how? Morgan chuckled, you know Mr. Midoriya. Izuku interrupted, just call me Izuku, if you know me. Morgan continued, you only got the quirk you didn't want after you defeated All Might. You have proven the world that a quirkless person can be the strongest hero in the world. Why did you disappear? Izuku looked down, when I got the quirk. It felt like I was lying to my friends, family, and the world about my quirkless status. When I got the quirk, I wanted to get rid of it as fast as possible. But after having it for a while, I couldn't let it go. Morgan asked, was it because it's the last thing of your rival, Lemillion? Izuku nodded, he was the first person to take me seriously. Even after defeating All Might, no one took me seriously. All Might is now taking me seriously because I defeated him and I have Lemillion's quirk, which was his before he passed it on to Lemillion. I gave the quirk to someone worthy of it. But like a fire it's still in me and I gave the person a torch. Morgan chuckled, sometimes in life, we aren't given anything at the beginning because we don't need them. Then when we get something, that something needs us more than we need it. But that's the irony of it all, sometime, the things we need come when the things need us. Izuku smiled, I see. Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Morgan said, just call me Morgan. They continued to watch the concert which Izuku left to then warp himself back home. Izuku's house. Everyone in the house were sitting on the couches and chairs watching movies to get their minds off Izuku for a little bit. Then they heard a knock on the door. Inko got up to check who it was. She opened the door to find her son, which Izuku said, I'm home. Sorry I was gone for a while. I just had to clear my mind. But I'm back. Chapter 50, The Return of Anarchy. Izuku is back home. What is everyone going to react to his return? He is prepared for anything. But is he really prepared for anything? Remember, I'm not posting anything on Saturday. Let's go. Izuku looked at his mom, which Inko hugged him tightly, which he hugged back. Inko teared up, which Izuku said, everything is fine now. Because I am here. It was a phrase he would tell her when he was younger, which she asked, why did you leave? Izuku said, I had some things to figure out, I'm sorry that I kept secrets from you. Inko said, it's not the secrets. I thought you left me and everyone else like your father. Izuku smiled, I'm not like my father. Because I always return. I can never abandon you and everyone. I may leave you all, but I want to come back stronger. And a better person. She let go to say, you are strong and the best person you can possibly can. Izuku smiled, thanks mom. Izuku came in, which when the girls saw him, he said, before you all attack me. He opened his bag to say, I got some stuff from Disneyland and some pictures. The girls still got up to hug him, which they started asking questions. Izuku sat down to answer the questions the best to his understanding, which Melissa asked, do you have any other secrets? Izuku chuckled, only the ones that sound unbelievable. Then a portal opened, which came the 5 people who traveled the world to find his ass, which Dabi said, you asshole, you left us when you were Argentina. Izuku asked, you were in Argentina? Atsuhiro said, you bet we were. Izuku said, sorry, I didn't see you 5. Tamura said, we started to your Italian vacation house to Shangri-La to what used to be China to New York to Argentina, to Disneyland to Egypt to Greece to Australia to here. You excuses that you didn't see us. Izuku shrugged, yes. Overhaul said, we need to have a talk after I get some sleep. Izuku said, "Sure thing Kai." Overhaul left to go home to get some sleep, which Sensei got in a chair to relax, then asked, "In Egypt, you faced a god, but in Greece I got to talk with Zeus. Do you know why?" Izuku shrugged. "It's probably something I did to one of his daughters." Everyone looked at him, which Izuku closed his eyes to try to sleep, which Dabi asked, "What did you do to the strippers?" Izuku said, "I'll tell you tomorrow." Dabi smiled, "What about?" Suddenly Izuku's black quick to close his mouth, which Izuku said, "I'll tell you tomorrow, I just want to relax a little bit." Sensei said, "I don't remember one for all doing that, I remember one of the users having that quirk." Izuku said, "The quirk mutated on Mirio to where users can talk with past users and use the quirks of the past users as well. Which means I don't have one quirk but actually 6 quirks." Everyone looked at him like he crazy, which he just sighed, then fell asleep to call it today. Time skip. He was happy to be home, but he also enjoyed his world tour, but most of the past users were complaining about telling all 4.1 about the mutation. Izuku didn't give shit about them and he wanted to be with the people that mattered to him. The next day he went to his base to do some things and talked to his grunts about his status. After he gave them a speech that if they don't want to follow him because of his secret of having a quirk, then they could leave. Not a single grunt left, which he is pretty happy about that. Then he just continued his day just looking at his technology progress. Izuku then went to his dinosaur lab, which he looked at new proposals on future plans of combining different dinosaurs to make new breeds. Izuku looked at the papers to say, "I've seen Jurassic World. Which is the reason we are not combining dinosaur DNA to make new breeds." The scientists then nodded, which Izuku said, "But we are still making them to study and selling them." Izuku went in to pet the dinosaurs that are not going to kill him, which he looked at the eggs to watch them hatch. Izuku chuckled, "Which dinosaurs are these?" A scientist said, "Those are the velociraptors." Izuku chuckled, "I think we should keep this batch for research purposes." The scientist nodded and put the batch under do not sell, which Izuku thought it would be fun to have them. Izuku looked at future dinosaurs that were in progress, which Izuku laughed nervously, "A T-Rex. The idea is interesting, and I hope I don't freak people out too badly." Izuku went to take his pet Jackass for a walk. The dinosaur was about a few months old, but it was as tall as Izuku. Izuku named him Crash because he tends to crash into things. Izuku said, "Come on Crash. Time for a walk." Crash followed Izuku around town, which people were freaked out by a living dinosaur, but the children love it. Ingenium came to view to see Izuku and Crash, which he said, "Anarchist. I can't begin to explain how wrong this is." Izuku smirked, "Which part? Crash or I'm taking Crash for a walk?" Ingenium said, "Both." Izuku smirked, "Crash. Let's teach Ingenium a lesson." Crash then charged at Ingenium, which he charged at the dinosaur, but Crash was a lot stronger than he looks. Ingenium flew back away, which Crash returned to Izuku and Izuku jumped on Crash to ride him. Izuku then said, "What's wrong Ingenium? Can't handle a little bit of dino power?" Ingenium got a little angry, which he said, "Today is when you are finally captured for good." Izuku said, "I'm sure you can't, and your argument is invalid because I'm riding a Jackass." Izuku and Crash went to charge at him again, which All Might landed between the two, which Izuku then added some of that to help Crash. All Might was about to punch Crash's head, which Izuku used Black Whip to grab All Might's fist to redirect it to the sky. Crash then ran to All Might, which he flew back, and All Might's redirected punch made the clouds in the sky vanish. Izuku yelled, "What the fuck All Might? You were going to kill a dinosaur that is only a few months old." All Might got up to say, "You are using dinosaurs for villainy. That is just wrong." Izuku said, "You were going to kill a dinosaur that I'm taking for a walk." There were two sides from the bystanders, with one side supporting All Might for arresting Izuku with any means necessary and the other side going against All Might for going to kill a dinosaur to get Izuku, which would classify as animal abuse. Izuku then said, "Crash. Time to go." Crash turned around to run away from All Might, which All Might started chasing them. Izuku then grabbed a stun grenade to then throw it at All Might's face, which Izuku then OFA 55% to his face. Crash kept running, which Izuku has to admit Crash was fast as hell and might consider just traveling by dinosaur. Crash then got hungry and Izuku's scientists genetic modified the dinosaurs to live off the plants of modern day. Izuku took Crash to the park to eat some grass, which the sign said no dogs allowed and Crash is not a dog. After a while, the park manager saw Izuku and Crash, which Izuku looked at her to say, "Crash is not a dog, as you can tell." The park manager looked officially done with life and decided to take a picture, then left. Izuku chuckled, "I can't wait for the sign to say, no dinosaurs, which people are going to be clueless until they see the picture of this." Then Detective Namasa came to the park to see Izuku and Crash. Namasa looked at his partner to say, "Every time. We can't have a normal reasonable conversion with him. He has to have something or do something that to make it awkward. The first time we met, he was drawing a penis on the car with gray spray paint, but the balls were blue and he put more detail on the balls. He is the reason I'm losing my mind." His partner said, "Calm down." Namasa said, "We need to draw the fucking line in the sand." We look deep inside ourselves to ask, what am I willing to put up with today? Namasa pointed at Izuku and Crash, "No. Fucking this." Izuku said, "Well, that's a little rude." Namasa said, "You know I had a decent life before you. I get to it in interrogation rooms to determine truth and lies. I made many breaks in a lot of cases, I got decent sleep, and I had some downtime to have some fun." Izuku said, "Well, if you think about it, I'm entertaining to some people." Namasa said, "Yeah, but you are my case. I mean, as soon as I get your file, you spray painted my car. I should have given the case to some other idiot, but instead I became the idiot that took your case." Izuku said, "Calm down. Just sit down and think of your situation for a moment. Don't worry, you can pet Crash." Namasa's partner went to pet Crash, which Namasa asked, "What are you doing?" His partner said, "It's not every day you get to pet a real dinosaur." Namasa sat down to think about everything about his situation, which he said, "I'm going to request a vacation for a while in a little bit. Don't do anything too radical while I'm gone." Izuku said, "I'm not sure if I can live up to that promise, but I will try my best." Namasa glared, "I mean, I want the government to still be not overthrown, no heroes are forced to retire because of you, and my office to be not disturbed. You got that?" Izuku chuckled, "I can do that." Namasa said, "Come on, let's go." Izuku asked, "Aren't you going to arrest me?" Namasa said, "This park is surrounded by heroes which you are going to escape by some bullshit miracle." Namasa and his partner left, which Izuku warped him and Crash out of the park. Which Izuku and Crash were at Izuku's house, which everyone had no idea what to say about Crash. Toga asked, "Is it real?" Izuku smirked, "Yes, he is very real. You can pet him, if you like." Toga started petting Crash, which Kyoka asked, "What other dinosaurs are you hatching?" Izuku said, "A lot. This morning we just hatched a batch of velociraptors. We are going to research them but not sell them. It has been 3 months since the ultrasound, which Izuku felt bad for, left her alone with his other girls and his mom for a while. Then he went to check on Melissa in his bedroom, which he asked, "How are you doing?" Melissa smiled, "I'm fine." She was pain, which then Izuku noticed her water broke, which he wasted no time to pick her up, then get Kurogiri to warp the two to the hospital. Which they were at a hospital that won't report him to the police or heroes because of the money he gave the place. Izuku called everyone up from his mom to Melissa's dad, which after some time Izuku saw his first 2 children. He got to see first saw the green-eyed boy and then the blue-eyed girl. He teared up seeing the 2, which he then got to hold Emily, the girl. Melissa was holding George, which Izuku looked at the 2, which he smiled, "I will never leave the country again. I promise." The children were born early, but they were extremely healthy, which Inko was happy to see her first grandchildren. After a while they were allowed to bring them home, which Izuku was prepared with the room for the two, which Izuku refused to let go of his children when it was his turn to watch them. Everyone then found Izuku sleeping on his chair with George and Emily sleeping on him while watching some TV. Which everyone took some pictures. Eri was a little jealous, but she was also happy to be a big sister figure. Izuku then woke up in the morning with his children and Eri sleeping on him, which he looked at the time, which was 9 a.m., which he chuckled, "I'm going back to sleep, I'm not getting up." Just like that he went back to sleep, which later that day he finally gave the babies to Melissa, which he then went back to work to do some things. Izuku was at work just doing some paperwork until one of his men came in to say, "Boss, have you heard what's going on?" Izuku in confusion, "No, what's going on?" The grunt said, "All Might retired, it's on the news." Izuku pulled out a remote from his desk to turn on a TV in his room, which all the news showed was All Might retiring. Izuku smirked, "So the number one hero is Hawks. Well, the hero society is now going to fall apart." Author's notes: this is not the end, just letting you all know that. Chapter 51, The New Age. Everyone in every home was glued to the TV as the parliament was passing the most talked about bill. Sensei, Tamura, Izuku, and Kai were getting ready to celebrate the bill about to be passed. The bill was to break apart Japan into 4 pieces, which those 4 pieces are united but under the laws of who were the leaders of the pieces. The piece will be under Sensei's, Kai's, Tamura's, and Izuku's control, which Izuku was just going to have an anarchic government. Izuku believed that the people will live by their own moral code and will live together. Tamura asked, "How will you sustain your peace?" Izuku chuckled, "People need food, water, electricity, and money. They will still work, but everyone can use their quirks because there are no laws against quirk use and vigilantism. So, workplaces are more secure, people can use self-defense, and vigilantes can legally help people. I will have a perfect peace that will act normal after some time." Everyone shrugged, which then the vote came, which it passed by 10 votes, which the League, Yakuza, and Izuku's grunts celebrated the victory, and Izuku held his 4 children, Emily, George, Sapai, and Kokoro. Izuku said, "I will give you 4 and your future brothers and sisters the brightest future I can possibly give." The 4 babies smiled at him, which he said, "Now polygamy is legal in my piece. I can marry all my girlfriends." They laughed, but then they continued to celebrate for the rest of the night. A week later Izuku made a broadcast for his piece, which he started, "Citizens of my peace. There are no laws. But I will let you all know that if you want food, clean water, electricity, and other stuff that costs money, get a job like everyone else. You can use your quirks for whatever want to use it for. Vigilantism is legal, so vigilantes are considered heroes. There are no prisons. You can acquire all weapons. The people that protect you are yourselves, vigilantes, heroes, and if you pay taxes, then there is a militia that I will have out protecting you from people using the lawlessness for their gain." Thank for watching this broadcast. Everyone in Izuku's piece just went through their day like it was a normal, but they weren't bound by laws, which they used their quirks to get to work. Everyone used their quirks freely, and heroes that lived in his piece had to remind themselves that as was legal. Izuku was just walking the streets eating some tacos from a nearby taco place. Midnight sat down to talk to him, which she asked, "How do it feel to be in charge?" Izuku laughed, "In charge? I'm not in charge. People just pay taxes if they want to, they listen to me if they want to, everything in this piece does what they want at their free will." Midnight asked, "Slavery?" Izuku shrugged, "If they want to, but people, vigilantes, and heroes can shut them down if they want to." Midnight asked, "Rapists?" Izuku said, "Legal, but people, vigilantes, and heroes can catch them or kill them." Midnight said, "Murder?" Izuku said, "Legal, but like everything else, people can murder them in exchange. Everything happens if people want to without limitation. That is true freedom. I gave everyone in my piece true freedom. I married some of my girlfriends, but..." Midnight raised an eyebrow, "But?" Izuku got down on one knee then pulled out a ring. I know we have been on opposite sides for a long time, but we always have loved each other. I love you and I want to marry you, so we will be together. Midnight never had found love until Izuku. They were friends with benefits in the public, but in private they actually love each other. Midnight blushed. I do. Izuku and Midnight kissed, which then they went around town. Izuku then found some alone time with Dabi, which Izuku said, "This is the life. No laws holding people back. And everyone lives by their moral codes. Everyone can use their quirks freely and can defend themselves and not rely on fake heroes." Dabi smirked. Stain is having a blast with this. He is still going after fake heroes. Izuku said, "I can see a bright future that most of these people can't see just yet." Dabi chuckled, "I can see the future and it is pretty bright." Shito said, "Yeah, it's brighter than I imagine." Tokoyami asked, "Who has the blunt?" Atsuhiro passed the blunt, which Izuku said, "I shouldn't be mixing alcohol with weed, but there are no laws stopping me." The gang sat and enjoyed themselves, which Dabi asked, "So Shito, are you and this Momo going out?" Shito nodded, which Izuku said, "Great." Monona said, "What if we were center of the universe until that old white guy revealed it weren't at the center?" Izuku asked, "For those who know kendo, if she can make her hands big by her quirk, do you all think her father has a quirk to make his dick bigger?" Dabi chuckled, "I would kill a few people for a quirk like that." Higashi chuckled, "If your shirt isn't tucked into your pants, then are your pants tucked into your shirt?" Jin said, "Holy shit, that is genius." They continued smoking and drinking to continue their fun, which then they fell asleep on the roof of Izuku's base of operations. The next day, Izuku walked around to see a robber coming into a store to rob the place, and the people in the store took him down with their quirks. Izuku chuckled, "Exactly how I imagined it. People can now express themselves and anyone can be a hero. Just like when you lied to the world." Yagi, All Might, was behind him, which he sighed, "This is just wrong, Izuku. You really think peace will exist is anarchy?" Izuku chuckled, "If there are no rules then there is nothing to break. As long as people have morals then there will be peace. I given people the right to have true freedom to be themselves. If they are not like the robber then they are true heroes." Yagi in the past few days has seen crime has dropped well because there are no laws to break or commit to, but there are less people abusing their quirks, and less violates. Yagi had 4 choices in this world, which are to live on his archenemy's peace, his mentor's grandson's peace, which Tamura hates him enough to kill him, Overhaul's peace, and Izuku's peace. Yagi knows that Overhaul would chase him out to Tamura or all for one, but Izuku didn't care for who comes to live in his peace. Izuku smirked, "Something tells me that you and the rest of the heroes are going to hide here until you make your attack to remake the old government." Yagi said, "I may be retired, but I'm not going to die leaving the country in darkness." Izuku spread his arms out, "How is this darkness? Look at these people, they are going about their day with smiles on their faces. Quirk and quirkless. They have freedom to express themselves, something a government can never offer." Then a small group of men in armor came to pick up the robber to take him away, which Yagi said, "I thought there are no prisons." Izuku chuckled, "There aren't. Just correction. I help the needy, the ones that turn to evil to get what they need. Something the old government never did right. You see, I'm making this the brightest future I possibly can for everyone." Izuku then walked off to leave Yagi to get a good look around to see what Izuku was talking about. Izuku then saw Bakugo coming towards him, which Izuku smirked, "You going to attack me? The brightest future I possibly can for everyone." Izuku then walked off to leave Yagi to get a good look around to see what Izuku was talking about. Izuku then saw Bakugo coming towards him, which Izuku smirked, "You going to attack me, Bakugo?" Bakugo threw a knife, but Izuku caught the knife before it hit his eye. Izuku then threw it back to look like to cut off the balls. Izuku said, "Well, no kids for you then." Bakugo was on the ground in pain and on the verge of dying, which Izuku was kind enough to get him an ambulance to the hospital. Izuku then smiled his way home to enjoy his family and the many happy days in the future. Chapter 52 and 53 will be skipped, see for yourself. Chapter 54, My Anarchist Academia Trailer. Author's note: hey guys, I got you all a trailer to tease you all up a bit for the sequel. In the sequel we will 412 main kids of Izuku's. They are in 3 groups: Children of Anarchy, Stardust Vigilantes, and the Magicians. Let's watch it, shall we? A teen girl with a red helmet covering her face, wearing a black leather jacket and black jeans, was driving around town on her motorcycle with her brothers and sister. This girl took off her helmet to reveal her blonde hair and green eyes. This was Emily Madraya. She looked at her twin brother who had green hair but blue eyes. His name was George. He wore the same thing to his sister's outfit, but he wore sunglasses instead of a helmet. George looked at their half-brother and half-sister, Sapai, Kokoro. You want to cause some trouble? Sapai is the teen boy their age with dark purple hair and green eyes with earphone jack earlobes that changed to fit the outlet to connect his mind to the cameras nearby to turn them off. He also wore black jeans with a metallic t-shirt and denim jacket. Kokoro is the teen girl with green and blonde hair with one green eye and one gold eye, wearing jeans and leather jacket. Smiled. We are always up for some trouble. They got on their motorcycles to drive off to go to fight some thugs, heroes, other siblings, and possibly slavers. They are the Children of Anarchy. Another end of town, a shop was overpowered by a group of powerful quirk users, which then a group of 4 brothers came up to the villains. The one dressed like a cowboy with blonde hair and greenish blue eyes said, "Yer days, these idiots came at the wrong time." The one in the red devil outfit said, "Joseph, I have to agree." Joseph said, "I know Akuro isn't on this, how you two? Masahide and Goro?" Masahide was a silver-haired teen with green eyes, wore black robes and a black and white unmasked side. "This looks easy." Goro has green hair with brown eyes, wore a skin-tight green outfit with a helmet similar to an astronaut's helmet with a green lens. He cracked his knuckles. "Let's go." Goro was covered in green sparks and Akuro was covered in red sparks, which Joseph took off 2 of his horns to use as weapons. Masahide took control of 2 of the villains to make them fight the other villains, while Goro at great speeds touched each villain to make them heavier. Then Akuro and Joseph knocked the villains out. The 4 tied them up, which they turned to the register to grab a few drinks of beer. A kid said, "It's the Stardust Vigilantes." Joseph smiled. Yer. Akuro laughed. "Yes, we are kid. That is Cowboy and I'm Daredevil." Masahide said, "Shoji." Goro smiled. "Absolute gravity." They signed the kid's book, then headed off with the beer that they got for free to go drink it while on the job as vigilantes. Some bank in town, 2 black-haired teen twins were collecting the bars of gold to put it in a small bag. The male was shrinking them and the other was putting them in the bag. They both wore purple magician outfits, which the male was known as the King of Thieves and the female was the Queen of Thieves. They are twin brother and sister, but their other partners, their half-siblings. One was in white magician outfit, mind reader, looking at the hostages with her green eyes and reading their minds. Her older brother in a black magician outfit, Legion, was using his quirk, telekinesis, to keep people still and using guns to point at the windows to stop anyone from stopping them. King said, "Okay. We got the last one." They saw heroes coming, which they saw it was Ground Zero and Red Giant, which Queen revealed a tiny Namu, which she turned it back to a huge high end to attack the 2 heroes. Legion asked, "Are we ready to leave?" Mind Reader smiled, "I think we gave everyone here a wonderful show." The 4 bowed, then Legion used his quirk to make the 4 fly away to one of their dad's warehouses. They landed to where King said, "You did a great job, Hoshio, Nozomi, and No chuckled, "You are the key player with making the bars smaller, Toshino." Toshino then began making the bars of gold back to their normal size, which No used his quirk to put them on a neat pile. Hoshio went to put away her tiny namas so they don't fall out when they go home for dinner. Toshio said, "They are calling us the magicians because of our outfits, which is really fitting. We do villainy by magic shows and tricks, just like Uncle Atsuhiro." Atsuhiro came in to see that they were successful, which he said, "Man, you kids are funny. Your dad who be proud by how much you stole today." Nozomi said, "We are going to break his record one day." Atsuhiro laughed, "Maybe, but for now you should head home before your mothers start calling me and your father." They quickly got out of their outfits and into regular clothes to head home, which Atsuhiro chuckled, Izuku and his 52 children. Still amazes me to this day. I'm surprised he hasn't lost his mind. Midoriya Residence's Emily, George, Sapai, and Kokoro were having a blast playing video games after they ate some dinner. They then saw their brothers the Stardust Vigilants, which they looked back. Joseph smirked, "Are you playing Smash Ultimate?" They nodded, which the eight started playing Smash Ultimate, which then the magicians came in, which Ikuro said, "We know you are behind the robbery." Toshio said, "Yeah, we are trying to beat Dad's record." Emily, George, Sapai, and Kokoro laughed a bit, which Ikuro, Goro, Joseph, and Masahide wanted to beat the crap out of them. Then their dad came in to say, "Hello." They were happy to see him, which Izuku said, "I know what you all did today, but I'm very interested in why you all wanted to do it and what you got out of it." They then told their stories of their day, why they did a few things, and what fun they had from it. Izuku said, "Okay Ikuro, Goro, Joseph, and Masahide. You four are drunk, which if you follow my lead then you won't get caught." The four nodded and follow his lead to their house to sleep it off, while the other eight laughed their asses off as they tripped a few times. Chapter 55 Short Side Stories 1. Author's note: So, I'm also going to provide side stories to explain some of the girls Izuku has children with. Because the goddess has some of you all think, "Nani? He fucked gods." Norway. Before Izuku and Dabi's second time traveling adventure, Izuku was visiting the country to find Viking gold that people have been looking for, which he thought it would be funny if he found it. He also had to check his oil refinery he bought a month ago that he didn't tell anyone about. He arrived in a small town of Svigruva, which he heard that the Vikings came to the island the town was on to hide the gold in case of emergencies. He looked around to see very little houses and noticed it was cold as hell, but he wasn't going to bitch about it. He then went into a shop to ask, "Is there a motel I can sleep at?" Everyone looked at him funny. Then Izuku asked again, but in Norwegian, which an old man said, "2, building to your left." Izuku said, "Thank you." He left the shop to head to the motel, which had some friendly women running it. He got set up in the motel, then decided to check out the town. He walked around the outskirts of the town, until he saw a mark on a huge stone. He took a closer look at it to see a few symbols, which he had a book to translate it. He then said, "I'm getting close to the treasure." Izuku then took a picture of the symbols to then walk a little bit down a path to find the treasure. Then he stopped at a field of flowers, which he was surprised that there was such a thing in this cold island. He decided to take a break to wonder why there was a field of flowers, but he also decided to take pictures, so people don't think he was crazy. Then he saw a young woman in the distance, which she was walking towards a cave, which he followed. He got inside the cave to follow it to see where it goes until he saw light. He went to the light to find a room of gold, which he took some pictures, but he wanted to find traps first before taking something. He then saw a hammer in the middle of the room, which he went up to it. He shrugged, "Looks cool. I'm going to take it." Izuku picked it up with no problem, which he heard, "What?" He turned to see the woman who led him to the cave, which Izuku smiled, "Hello there." The woman said, "The hammer has proven you worthy." Izuku raised his eyebrows, "Worthy? I guess I am." The woman asked, "What is your name?" Izuku smiled, "I am Izuku Midoriya." The woman said, "Apologies for not telling you my name. I am Iraija." Izuku said, "Well, I like this hammer and I'm going to take it with me." Iraija said, "Let's go outside to see something." Izuku shrugged and followed, which when they go out of the cave, Iraija asked, "Can you raise the hammer to the sky?" Izuku did what she asked, and the lightning bolt hit the hammer and the hammer was covered in electricity, but it didn't harm Izuku. Izuku laughed, "This is super cool." Then he pointed the hammer at a nearby mountain which the hammer shot a lightning bolt at it. The two giggled which Izuku said, "This hammer is super fun. I'm going to hit it somewhere at my place." Iraija asked, "You aren't going to stay?" Izuku said, "Sorry, I have friends and family to get back to. I will try to visit as much as I can." Then she asked, "You sure you don't want to grab some gold?" Izuku smiled, "Nah, the gold is cool and all. But this is better." She smiled. "I guess I will guide you back." They headed back and they talked the whole way back to the town. When they returned, some people saw the hammer and they worshipped him a little bit. Izuku was confused by it, but he was going to roll with it. Then he and Iraija went to his room. The next day, he packed up and saw Iraija disappeared, which he looked around the town for a little bit, then called Kurogiri to warp him back. Izuku then went to his treasure storage building to put the hammer in it to then go find Dabi to begin their second time traveling adventure. Chapter 56, Short Side Stories 2. Time, Chapter 30. After Izuku wakes up from talking with the past users, Izuku woke up to see that Tiri and Gon were still playing and there was still time. He then saw Tsu, which sat down next to him. "Hello Izuku-chan, Karo." Izuku smirked. "Hello Tsu, working hard at UA again?" The two are friends for a while because Izuku takes Iri to the same park that Tsu brings her young siblings to. The two talked to each other a lot and became friendly with each other. Tsu said, "Well, when you came in to teach us stuff, Aizawa-sensei started testing us on the things you revealed. He also has tried going deeper on the subjects you brought up, but he keeps mentioning that some of the information is new to him." Karo. Izuku chuckled. "I guess I taught you guys stuff more advanced than Aizawa knew. But you brought your young siblings like usual?" Tsu nodded and Izuku said, "I guess I can teach you a bit more." Tsu asked, "Are you sure?" Izuku said, "Well, I got time. Gon and Iri are still having fun, and you are a good friend. I don't see why not." They talked for a while, which then it was time to go, which Izuku smiled. "If you have time. You want to go watch a movie later day?" Tsu said, "I got nothing better to do." "Might as well." Izuku said, "Meet you then." They left, which Izuku dropped off Iri and Gon to head to the theater where they are going to meet up at. She arrived in a little dress that wasn't too fancy, which Izuku smiled. "It looked good on you, you know." Tsu got a little red tea. "Thanks, Karo." Izuku laughed a little bit. "Come on, let's watch the movie." They were enjoying the movie, then they saw the heroes on their way to defeat the villain. But, Tsu said, "The thing about the villain is that he is like you, Izuku." Izuku asked, "He is?" Tsu said, "He is not evil, and he is fighting for what is right. But the way he is fighting for it is seen as bad." Izuku said, "Yeah. That sounds about right." Tsu then asked, "If you were given the chance to become a hero, would you take it?" Izuku said, "I am a hero to some people, mostly quirkless people, but if I was given a chance to be a fully licensed hero, I would refuse. Reason being, I want to help people in every way and not be limited by a set of laws. You know what I'm saying?" Tsu nodded. "There are things heroes are limited on, but it's for the safety of the hero as well as the bystanders and other people." Izuku chuckled. "Ironic. Heroes are supposed to help maintaining the law, and protect people. But the law also prevents them from doing actions against people who defy the law and prevents them from protecting the citizens from certain things." Tsu and Izuku then walked around town for a while and got some food. Then they went to place to go stargazing, which Izuku asked, "Why did you want to become a hero anyways?" Tsu said, "I always wanted to be hero. My parents weren't usually home because of work, and I had to take care of my siblings. I still believe my life is wonderful and I like helping people, which is why I wanted to be a hero, Karo." Izuku chuckled. "That is really admirable, I like it." Tsu then asked, Why did you presume the villain career, Karo? Izuku asked. You know your classmate Bakugo? Tsu asked. Sadly yes, Karo. Izuku told her the story of how Bakugo bullied him, then one day he snapped. His time in the underworld before meeting All Might, then meeting All Might. Tsu said, that's sad and you must have been heartbroken at the time. Izuku said, I was when he told me that I can't become a hero. But I also somewhat expected it. People throughout my life told me I would never be a hero. But being a villain is better and fun. You can also be a villain like me, where you can help people and be an equal rights fighter. Tsu said, you are a bad guy. But you're not a bad guy, Karo. Izuku chuckled, I know. Tsu kissed him, which he embraced it, and they continued to make out, which Tsu teased. Izuku-chan, do you think about how times my tongue could wrap around her? Izuku said, I actually want to know. Actually I need to know. Chapter 57, Short Side Stories 3. Time? Between ch. 30 and 31. Izuku and a few of his men were on a boat returning to Japan after selling their shipment of arms to Indonesia, which Izuku can say it worked out well. As they were about 50 miles from Japan's shores, they came in contact with pirates. Izuku said, to your battle stations. His men got their guns, and when the pirates opened fire, then Izuku shouted, fire. It was a gunfight at sea, which Izuku saw a bigger ship coming, which he said, I'm about to hate myself for saying these words, but please say that is the Coast Guard. The bigger ship turned out to be filled with more pirates, which one of Izuku's men asked, what are we going to do, boss? Izuku said, Jack. I would usually order a tactical retreat, but we are out at sea. Get the RPGs and javelins. Jack nodded and got a few men to went to get the RPGs and javelins, while Izuku pulled out 2 AK-48, not the 47, but the illegal 48, and started shooting at the pirates. Izuku saw another ship coming, in which he pulled up a radio to see if he could connect to it. Izuku asked, this is the Brexit, we are attacked by pirates, can anyone hear us? Then he heard a feminine voice say, we see you and we are on the way. Izuku said, oh thank God, we are about to run low on ammo. Jack came with a few men. We got the RPGs and javelins. Izuku got off the radio, hide those, the Coast Guard is right over there. They saw the Coast Guard ship approaching them, which they hid the weapons because they are illegal to own. Izuku went to put away the clips for the 48s and get clips for 47, so he can't get in trouble for that. The Coast Guard came in to fight off the pirates, which with Izuku's men they captured the pirates, which the captain of the Coast Guard ship asked, can I speak to the captain of the Brexit? Izuku said, that would be me, Captain Selkie. Selkie raised an eyebrow, well I never expect a captain to be so young, but you and your men did a good job, hold them off. Izuku chuckled, we did, despite all of us are quirkless, we held off some pirates with Seek works. Selkie and his crewmates in shock, you are all quirkless? All of Izuku's men nodded, which his sidekick, Sirius, said, that's brave and amazing. Selkie smiled, this is a sight. A crew of only strong men and women with no quirks like the time before quirks. Izuku chuckled, beer, hard work, and the sea to drift across. It is a scene. Some of Izuku's grunts brought a wooden crate, which Izuku said, thanks for your help, we would like to give a gift from one captain to another. Izuku opened at the top of the crate, which it revealed some beer and wine, which Selkie chuckled, well if you insist. Selkie's men took it, which they decide to stick around a little bit to help the pirates and to the ship's jail cells so they can bring them to shore. Which they were heading back to shore, which they might as well sail next to each other. Which Izuku was checking the cargo shipping crates to see if he got everything from Indonesia, then headed to his captain's quarters to wash his clothes. While the two ships were sailing back to shore, Sirius was on board Izuku's ship to observe his grunts at work and observe some things. She went into a door which was locked, but it had a combination lock on it, which she easily cracked it. She opened it to find Izuku on a couch completely naked while watching soccer, which he turned around. Hello there. Sirius with her face red looked away to ask, "What are you doing?" Izuku asked, "Can you close the door?" She closed the door behind her, but now she in the same room with Izuku, which he said, "I'm waiting for my clothes to dry." Sirius asked, "What?" Izuku pointed at a washer and dryer, which he said, "I got blood on my clothes from the pirate attack, which I would like for it to be washed out." Sirius shyly, I guess that's reasonable." Izuku said, "Also there is game between Samurai Blue versus Germany on right now and I don't want to miss it." Sirius asked, "Did you bring only pair of clothes?" Izuku smirked, "Of course not, it just I ran out of clean clothes." Izuku then cheered as Japan got a goal, which when Izuku's clothes finished drying, which he put them on. Izuku said, "Apologies for the view you saw of me." Sirius was still red from it, which she said, "No, it's my fault for looking around and going into things I shouldn't have went into." Izuku laughed, "Not your fault for being curious, I mean I'm a young captain, which probably makes you and Selkie questioning everything about me." Izuku got close to her, "I can see that you are still interested in me." Sirius said, Maybe. Izuku felt something grabbing something of value to him, which he looked down to see. Sirius accidentally had her hand on his dick. He chuckled, "We can do it and no one out the room will never know about it." Present day. Izuku is about in his 30s, looked at Kazuma and Genko to say, "And that is how I met your mother." Genko raised an eyebrow, "You could have not added the part where mom did. You know." Kazuma asked, "We also need fuel to head back to sea to catch more pirates." Izuku smiled, "Of course, head to Dock A5 to the fuel tank and it will be ready for you two and your mom." They hugged him and they left, which Izuku teared up a bit. They grow up so fast and living the dream. Chapter 58. This one. Author's note: I will also be doing some treasure hunting stories that Izuku has done. They will possibly have a time on when they happen, but sometimes they won't, and Izuku won't reveal when he got them because they could be times where he wasn't leave the country to go treasure hunting because he is supposed to do something more important. Like his story with Thor's hammer, he has no idea what the treasure is sometimes until much later. Let's go with the firsts, Izuku and the Nazi gold. A week after first meeting Hitler, Izuku was in Germany with maps, weapons, shovels, and other stuff looking for Nazi gold. After his meeting with Hitler, he confirmed that he had a secret stash of gold he didn't really care about hidden west of Munich. Izuku having a soft spot for gold, silver, and other valuable items, so he decided to head over there to check if it was still there. Izuku was looking in the forest and mountain region looking for signs. Izuku looked around until he saw the first sign, which was the symbol engraved on a rock. Izuku said, "Well, this is the first symbol, the symbol of the Sturmabteilung. Now according to the directions, if I find the rock, take a mile hike east, until I have to find a partially buried tank with the Schutzstaffel on it. Well, if I find a partially buried tank, then it's going to be a SS tank." He followed the directions to find the tank, which he then headed northwest for half a mile, until he found the last clue, a secret cave with symbol of the eagle on top of the swastika, which Izuku said, "This is the place." Izuku went down the cave but looked cautiously at the skeletons in the cave, which meant there are traps. Izuku picked up a rock to throw at which several buzzsaws appeared to block his path. Izuku shrugged as he watches the pattern the saws were coming and going, which he passed the trap with ease. He continued down the tunnel to find a switch, which he flipped it to where the buzzsaws from before stopped working, but it activated another trap to get pasted. He opened the door to see that it was flooding with gas. He closed the door to put on his gas mask for protection. He went to go to the end of the room to find the door locked, which he looked around for a key until he saw a shower knob, which twisted it off, which got rid of the gas and opened the door. Izuku then went in to see a bunch of tiles on the floor, with letters on them, which he looked around for clues. He then found a clue on the wall that read, "Only those who follow the steps of the christened Führer can pass thought." He looked at it to think what the riddle meant until he realized that christened meant his Christian name. Izuku thought really hard to back to middle school with World War II history lessons. Then he remembered. He whispered, Adolphus Hitler. Izuku stepped on each letter of until he came across which Izuku then pulled the level which revealed the correct letter shining. Then he went into a room which revealed the Nazi gold and weapons. Izuku looked around to find blueprints as well. Izuku saw the instructions of the secret railroad gun and super tank which he obviously took them, but he turned to find the said super tank. Hitler called it the land cruiser which he smiled. I know exactly where you are going. He found signal and where he was at which he texted Kurogiri his location to open a warp portal for him. Kurogiri came through to asked, why are you in Jur? Kurogiri saw the mountain of gold and Izuku in the super tank which Izuku said, Kurogiri, I need you to open the portal to my treasure building. Kurogiri said, Izuku get out of the tank. Izuku said, you're not my dad. Kurogiri said, get out of the fucking tank. Izuku said, you're not my dad. Kurogiri said, I may not be your dad, but I will bring someone who will get you out of the... Izuku interrupted him, I'm in a tank and you're not. Kurogiri said, get out of the fucking tank. Izuku said, I'm literally in a tank, and you're not. Kurogiri said, get out of the tank. Izuku said, call me a Nazi, I don't care, I'm in a tank and you're not. Kurogiri was getting angry until Izuku said, I will give you 25% of the gold in here, if you help me get the tank to my treasure room and you don't say a word about this. Kurogiri thought about it then said, okay, you win this time. After they got some of the gold and Izuku's tank to Japan, Kurogiri sighed, the last thing you need is tank. Izuku said, Kurogiri, I found blueprints to make another one or improve this one and make more. You also got paid a lot, so stop being angry. Kurogiri sighed, you're right. I guess I shouldn't be complaining about you getting a tank. Izuku smiled, damn straight, now this is going to be a project that only a few people will know about. Don't tell Sensei or Kai, because we both know what they will do to my tank and the gold. Kurogiri nodded and that was the end of the discussion on Izuku's tank. The next will be about Izuku getting the Holy Grail. Chapter 59. Short Side Stories 4. Time? Between chapter 26 and 28 Izuku was asked to help with Class 1B which he didn't mind. He was captured and under a temporary program to attend to possibly make him a hero. Izuku came in. Hello everyone, I'm here to teach you all something. Ken is also going to supervise me to make sure I don't kill anyone. Which I won't. Izuku looked around the room to get familiar with their face, then a black-haired girl raised her hand which Izuku smiled. You have a question, You asked, what will you be teaching us? Izuku said, well, after seeing what you all learn. We will learn about hand-to-hand combat, villain philosophy, and underworld economics. An orange-haired girl asked, underworld economics? Izuku said, that is a subject that only I can teach, Kendo. I mean, I know it like the back of my hand. The more you learn economics of the underworld, the more you know what illegal activities will be the most active. They were in awe and Tetsu said, I've seen you fight. Is it wrong to think that your fighting style is manly and cool? Some students looked at him which Izuku laughed. Well, my fighting styles are from a time where quirks didn't exist, which most people are amazed by it. I believe it isn't wrong to think that it's cool and manly, I mean I beat All Might with it. Then Izuku turned to Ken to say, I want to take your class to a gym to learn some hand-to-hand combat. They went to the gym which Izuku was got each of them to do basic training and movements which Izuku got a metal training dummy like he asked for. Izuku then said, okay, you are probably wondering what the hell you are doing, well hopefully this will help you. Izuku went to the dummy to punch it and kick it which it was bending the dummy and soon after 2 minutes, he destroyed it. They looked at it in awe which Izuku said, I asked for titanium, not this cheap Chinese steel that cost as much as a sweatshop employee. They then heard, that is extremely offensive and not teacher behavior. They turned to see Class 1A which Aizawa said, I see this gym is occupied, we will head to the other one. Izuku smirked. No Aizawa, You can bring your students. I am teaching hand-to-hand quirkless fighting. Aizawa chuckled. Interesting topic. Is Kan okay with that? Kan nodded, which is Yuko was teaching the students the basics, which the only person who didn't like being taught by Izuku was Bakugo. Bakugo said, "You think you are better than?" Izuku snuck up behind him to knock him out with one punch, to the back of his head, which Izuku asked, "What did Bakugo do that led to his defeat?" Pony said, "He wasn't aware of his surroundings." Izuku said in English, "An American, I can speak English as well, don't be afraid to speak English to me." Which also, yes. Bakugo is an absolute dumbass that wasn't aware of his surroundings. Reiko asked, "So, where did you learn to fight like that?" Izuku smirked, "Deep in the underworld. But that is a secret because that is a weird story." Aizawa said, "You are a weird person in the first place." Izuku said the guy who brings a sleeping bag to class like some sort of caterpillar. Oh, speaking of which. Izuku pulled out some papers that had a picture of a butterfly but with Aizawa's head on it, which Izuku said, "I need all these flyers to be, put up all these things around, and you have to run out before Aizawa catches you." Aizawa raised, "You won't." Izuku gave each student a stack then said, "Go." They ran out of the gym in different directions to put them up while Aizawa went around chasing them, which then Izuku was summoned to Nezu's office. Nezu said, "You know why you are here?" Izuku pulled out a 10-page report to say, "Here is a 10-page report on what I did was a part of the hero course and how it relates to my lesson." Aizawa in shock. "You planned this from the beginning?" Nezu opened it to confirm it, which Nezu said, "Apologies, you can leave." As Izuku walked around, Yua came to him, "Midoriya-sensei." Izuku said, "Just call me Izuku, I'm not an old man like Aizawa and Kan." She asked, "Call I have more lessons, on hand-to-hand combat, I'm trying to incorporate it with my quirk?" Izuku smirked, "Sure." They went to a gym, which Izuku said, "Okay, your quirk, size, can change the size of any non-living object." Izuku handed her a baton. When your opponent jumps back, you can use your quirk to make the baton longer. When you need a weapon to help you with certain things, but you have a limit on how much you carry, shrink your weapons to be able to carry more. When fighting, change the size of your weapon to gain the edge against your opponent. She nodded, then they spared a bit, which she was getting the hang of it. She swung the baton from above, which Izuku moved the baton to block it, but she changed the size to counter the block, then brought it back to its normal size to almost hit his head. She stopped herself, which Izuku smirked, "You look like you got the hang of it, but..." Izuku grabbed her and disarmed her, then got her close to say, "A real villain wouldn't hesitate to counter that." Yua blushed, "Why yes, I Izuku." Izuku let go of her to say, "Well, you definitely got skill after some time of hand-to-hand combat and how to use your quirk with it. You will be one ass-kicking beauty." Yui was red, thanks. Izuku asked, "Hey, when I escape from or something, you want to go out or something like that? I mean, I can't right now because..." Izuku gestured his ankle bracelet, which Yui said, Why yes." Izuku smiled, "Great. See you around." Present Izuku looked at Tashi and Hoshio, which Tashi said, "Dad, we are going to break your record of the most stolen gold in one day today." Izuku smirked, "Sure. What makes you two think today is the day?" Hoshio said, "We heard of a huge ship with a few cargo containers has gold on it, which we are going to steal it." Izuku chuckled, "It better be more than 30 cargo containers to break my record, but be careful now. Also call your mother to tell her you two are okay." They said, "Okay." Tashi said, "We also need to borrow the Yamato." Izuku smiled, "It's in Dock B6. Chapter 60 Short Side Stories 5. Time, a few weeks after Japan divided into 4 pieces, Nejire was a part of the multiple heroes who were going to raid Overhaul's base. Night-Eye was in stress, which when Rukio asked, "Are you okay, Night-Eye?" Night-Eye said, "I have looked in everyone's future of the raid, but they are all different." Mirko asked, "What do you mean?" Night I sighed. Every future I have seen from all of you shows that Izuku Midoriya will be there, but in different ways. In yours, I saw him arrive with 50 high-ends, and when I did Ryukyo, he arrives with several men in power armor. Somehow he has something that changes the future that even I can't see the real future. Everyone was in shock by the info, Nejire said, but we know Izuku will be there, which we must prepared everything. At the raid everything was going great. They have defeated the grunts and some of Overhaul's top men. Then Overhaul shouted, "Where is Izuku?" Then a portal opened which the heroes were ready for a lot of things. But a big-ass tank with guns pointed everywhere was not one of those things. The tank opened fired on the heroes, which the heroes hid to not get killed. After a little bit, the top hatch of the tank opened and Izuku came out. "I'm here, Kai." Kai in shock, "When did you have a tank?" Izuku smiled, "I'll tell you another time. Quickly get you, Eri, and some of your men in here. So, we can get out of here." Nejire came to face Izuku. "Mr. Midoriya, get out of the tank." Izuku said, "You're not my mom." Nejire shot her energy blast at the tank, but it did nothing, which Izuku chuckled. "You're not going to beat a 1,000 metric ton tank with a combination of German steel and engineering with the same technique and design of my power armor that can withstand All Might's full power." Mirko kicked the tank with all her might to see if the tank was as strong as he was saying, which her strongest kick did absolutely nothing. She jumped back, which Izuku said, "See? I wouldn't lie about this." Sir came to view to shout, "A tank? What do you have that prevents me from seeing any definite future with you in it?" Izuku revealed a ring on his left ring finger. "This ring right here has, believe or not, magic to make anyone who can see the future unable to see my future. I believe it might also affect other people's future if I'm involved in it. But not my problem. I'm going to have fun driving around town with this bad boy." K, Eri, and Kai's best men got in, which Izuku closed the hatch and the tank started moving. Izuku asked, "Comfortable?" Izuku had comfortable seats with cameras to watch every angle of the tank. Kai said, "Out everything, I expect you to come in to help me." "I never expected a tank." Izuku laughed. "No one expects the Izuku Inquisition. Also, the tank will be slow, so bear with us. This monster's top speed is 65 kph, 40 miles per hour. The tank was slow and big, but it can run over and crush anything that got in its way. It also had room to perform medical procedures with medical equipment." Izuku was enjoying the drive until he felt the tank stop, which he realized, rock lock. "Okay men, shoot anyone in your sights. I'm going out to beat up rock lock." Izuku got out with a baseball bat, stun grenades, and tasers to see Rocklock in front of the tank, using the quirk to make it not move. Izuku smirked, "Your quirk can be overcome by great force, and this tank has that force. You are using all your might to keep it from moving forward." Izuku came down to about to hit him from the back of the head, until Nejire got in front of him to say, "You will not allow you to hurt him." Izuku said, "I wasn't going to hurt him." Badly. Izuku dodged her many attacks, which he saw an opening to kick Rocklock from the tank so they can keep moving. Izuku kicked Rocklock away from the tank, which he passed out. The tank started moving again but was about to run over Nejire, which Izuku got her out of the way. Then a bunch of Kai's men appeared to help Kai and Izuku's tank, which Sir said, "We need to get back to base, there are too many of them." They left except Nejire, who was in an alley with Izuku, which Izuku noticed she has a few broken bones and she was drained of energy. Izuku, being a kind gentleman, gave her some of his medicine, which she was awake and energized. Izuku said, "Okay, get out of here, before they capture you." Nejire asked, "Why are you helping me?" Izuku said, "You don't not need to see what Kai do to people who attack him. Mirio wouldn't want you to die from him, and you're too pretty to be captured by him. So, you are going to fly out back to your base." Nejire nodded and flew off, which Izuku said, "She is a lot tougher than she looks. But now I'm going to go put my tank back." Kai asked, "Do you have more tanks?" Izuku said, thanks, battleships, fighter jets, and possibly a railroad gun. But I got jobs to give people in my peace. As Izuku got back in the tank, he was playing Ride and Dirty back to his workplace. After a while he headed to Mirio's gravestone, which he dropped off some flowers, which Mirio in his head said, do you really need to come here to drop off some flowers? I mean, I am in your head to give you my knowledge and quirk. Izuku said, Mirio, I'm just being respectful and nice. You don't need to remind me that you are in my head with the other old dead successors, except Sensei Chang. Then he heard someone coming, which he put on green sunglasses and a fedora to disguise himself, hoping that it wasn't fans of Lemillion coming to the gravestone. The woman said, Izuku. Izuku said, Nejire. Nejire said, thanks for saving me. Izuku chuckled, sure. You are here to give Mirio some words? Nejire said, me and him were friends, you know. Izuku said, I know, he told me about it when he was alive. How is Tamaki? Nejire said, he is fine, he is on his date. Izuku looked at the grave, interesting. Who is the lucky man? Mirio. In Izuku head, man? Nejire said, Tenya Ida. Mirio shouted in Izuku's head, what? Izuku in his head to Mirio, you didn't know Tamaki was gay? Mirio said, no. Izuku chuckled, you know Nejire, I think he is looking down at us and smiling that we are okay. You and everyone here is in a place where they could be free to express themselves. You can be a hero, a vigilante, villain, or anti-hero to help people or help themselves. I mean, Mirio probably wanted people to be free to do what they want to be without judgment. Nejire smiled, you're right. Is it true you can talk to Mirio in your mind? Izuku giggled a little bit, he is a pain in the ass and gets on my case on everything. Nejire asked, can you tell him that we miss him? Izuku smiled, he knows. Right now he is in shock because he didn't know Tamaki was gay. Nejire asked, he didn't know? Izuku nodded and Nejire said, Tamaki was gay for him too. Mirio in Izuku's head, he was gay for me. Izuku started laughing a little bit, then said, now you got him in full shock and questioning everything. Nejire laughed, which Izuku smiled, I'm going to get a drink. You want to come with? Nejire nodded and they left to go get a drink. Present day Izuku saw Fuiuko and Followe, which he said, I heard you two stole some slaves from Mr. Gates, enslaved him, and you freed the slaves he originally had. Followe said, to be fair, it was Fuiuko's idea and I just tagged along. Izuku chuckled, you two just want to help people just like your mother and have some of my ways of punishment to the mixture. Well, I don't care about Mr. Gates and his slavery thing, actually I wanted to destroy that thing. But I'm proud of you too. Fuiuko smiled, thanks Dad for being supportive, even if you are a villain. Izuku smiled, okay, go have some fun, and if you need something from me, go to my support item man for something. Also, Followe, can you tone it down on your energy manipulation? You accidentally caused a black out at the house. Followe chuckled a bit, sorry about that. Chapter 61, Short Side Story 6. Time? Between Chapter 41 and 42 Izuku was at Kushiro Shichujin National Park to sightseeing the beautiful landscape, and by sightseeing he means he is going to get high as fuck. He was sitting on a log smoking some weed and getting lost until he heard a noise. He smoked so much to where he couldn't think straight, so he pretended he was camping, and he accidentally put his weed stash in his campfire. He saw a woman in traditional clothing, which she said, hello visitor. Izuku giggled, hello there. Don't mind me. I'm just camping and enjoying the view. The woman looked around, I don't see a tent with you. Are you sleeping in one of the lodges? Izuku realized he didn't have a tent, so the camping idea was a fail. Izuku said, well, I'm one of those who like to experience nature at its finest. The woman laughed, I can smell the weed from a mile away. Izuku chuckled, really? The woman sat next to him, It's fine. She then put her hand in the hand to grab the weed without getting burnt, and the weed won't burnt, which is Yuku and all. What kind of quirk do you have, because that is cool? The woman smiled. This isn't a quirk, but something stronger. Izuku smirked. Stronger? Like God like? They laughed for a little bit and the woman said, right on the money. Izuku kept laughing. Okay, that was a good one. The woman smiled. I'm serious. She touched his forehead and he was sober again, which he said, okay, that was cool, as hell. She giggled. Thank you. Izuku, now sober, asked, who are you? She said, my name is Inari Akami. It's nice to finally meet you, Izuku Madraya. Izuku said, the Kami of luck, foxes, and fortune. I guess it's nice to meet you too. She said, I've watched you for a long time. I wanted to help you so badly in your early life. But I wasn't allowed to by the other gods and goddess. When you went to the path of villainy, I decided to give you a lot of luck to help you get payback from the world. I hope you can forgive me. Izuku looked at her. I forgive you and thank you for my high luck I have now. She smiled. You have a question for me? Izuku asked. I thought you were a man like the people who worship you say. She giggled. I have revealed my form as a man before to get people's attention. I can be whatever I want to be, which I choose to be a woman. Izuku smirked. You have chosen a beautiful woman, I can say that. She looked at him. Are you trying to flirt with me? Izuku said, is it wrong to do so? I mean, you were Kami. She smiled. You always knew how to win a girl's heart and I didn't even give you anything that got you that. Izuku said, I'm a man with a talent that wasn't unlocked until later in life. Now can a Kami get high? She chuckled. With God's lettuce, a Kami can. The next morning Izuku woke up with Inari was with him, which they were naked. She woke up, a man with many talents but still with all the luck I gave you. You are still humble. Izuku smiled. I try my best. Present Izuku was looking at his two children from Inari, which, Nana asked, so, we are demigods like Frida, Ulf, Luna, Sol, Adu, Nep, Chaos, and 4? Izuku said, yep, you are children of luck and fortune. Kazuhiro asked, are there divine weapons we can use? Like Frida's hammer and Ulf's scepter? Izuku chuckled, of course I have divine weapons for all my divine children, like the Thor's hammer which Frida has and Loki's scepter which Ulf uses. Izuku pulled out 2 swords. Okay, one sword can talk to its wielder and the other one can cut through anything. They went for the swords, which Kazuhiro said, I like this talking sword, it truly speaks to me. The 3 laughed a little bit. Izuku smiled. Okay, you two, go have fun. Don't cause too much of a mess now. Chapter 62-2, The Holy Grail. Time? Age, 14, Location, Syria. Izuku was still, has been gun running as a side job to help him get a lot of money for things. He arrived in Syria to make contract sell Russian guns, Chinese guns, and other weapons of war to a militia group that was getting popular. Izuku went to their base to show off the weapons, which the leader said, we like what you are selling, but... Izuku raised an eyebrow. It's because I'm young, isn't it? The leader said, no offense, but you look like you should be in school. Izuku said, yeah, I could go to school and be bullied like the rest of my kind, or I can do stuff like this to make money to slap life in the face with it. If you don't accept the deal in 2 minutes, then I'm leaving, because this is proving to be a waste of my time so far. The leader smirked. You're a good businessman. We will take the deal. Izuku smiled. I'm glad you accept the deal. They shook hands, which he then left to explore the country. Or what's left of it. He found a tomb which he jumped in with no problem to find some accident symbols. Izuku took pictures and he saw a cave which he entered. He looked around to see spikes coming in and out of the ground and walls, which he smirked. Okay. Now. Izuku jumped to the other side without getting killed by the spikes, then saw the gears which threw rock in them to stop the spikes. He then continued to find a cliff, but a path on the side of the cliff. Izuku shrugged. I guess I can't go farther. He turned around but he dropped his notebook. He was going to have a heart attack until he saw it landed on something. He looked closely to see that there was a bridge, across which is disguised to make it look like there was no bridge. Izuku smirked. I guess my adventure must continue. He walked across the bridge, then threw some sand at the bridge to remind himself that it's still there. Then he continued until he found an old white dude in knight's armor, which he said, "Hello there. You are oddly dressed to be a knight." The knight looked at Izuku's clothes, and some of his weapons, which Izuku asked, "Who are you?" The knight said, "I am the knight that protects and watches over the Grail until another knight takes my place." The knight Izuku his sword, which Izuku said, "I'm not here to kill people. I'm just exploring." Izuku looked at the different grails, which Izuku asked, "Can I take one?" The knight smiled, "Careful, one gives you life if you drink out of it and the others give you death. You must choose wisely." Izuku looked at them but noticed the cup not made of gold or silver, which he grabbed it, then went to the fountain of water to drink the water out of it, which the knight smiled, "You chose wisely." Izuku looked at his watch. "There is about to be a battle here in a few minutes. We need to get out of here." The knight said, "After centuries of guarding the Grail, I believe you will protect it with your life. Here." The knight gave Izuku his sword again, which Izuku asked, "What is it made of?" The knight said, "It was given to me by an angel, which was made from God's fire." Izuku said, "Cool." Izuku took it this time, and then Izuku left. When he turned around to look at the tomb, which it collapses, which Izuku was surprised by that. Izuku got on a train with the sword hidden, which Izuku looked at the Grail. "I wonder what he meant when he called you the Grail." Izuku stared at it, then put it back in his bag. "Well, it's going into the treasure building, with the sword." Izuku returned to Japan after a long time of trains and boat rides. Izuku went to his treasure building to put his first items to put in. Izuku looked at the Grail and sword, which he smiled. "You two are my first items and you will have friends soon." He closed the building to get on his villain outfit to get back to work as Overhaul's underling to do research on hero quirks and take care of Eri after she gets a small of her blood drawn and taken to a man that Izuku knew who can copy and make blood from water. Chapter 40. Izuku was looking into his treasure building to mark and figure out what items he had. He saw the Grail and sword, which he smiled. "I remember you too." Izuku looked into them, then realized the Grail was the Holy Grail, and he now understood why the knight was protecting it. He decided it didn't deserve to be in the building with everything else, so he took the Grail and sword to his office to put them next to the Book of Immortality and Vampire Mask. He then relaxed to think of his Vegas vacation, which he then looked at his items and chuckled at his first treasures. He picked up the sword to put it next to him so he can screw with Dabi as soon as he comes in. Present Izuku's interdimensional children he had with Shauka, Shito's genderband, were in his office, looked around for weapons. Dante looked at the sword. "Can I wield the sword, Dad?" Izuku smiled. "Sure thing." Dante picked it up and used his quirk to make it a flaming sword, which Crystal said, "Calm down, Dante." Dante said, "But that was so cool." Izuku said, "That was cool. You can have the sword." Dante asked, "Really?" Izuku nodded, which Dante smiled and set the sword on fire again, while Crystal asked if there was technology to alert her if she was going to faint from overusing her quirk, which Izuku said, "Let's see." Chapter 63, William 1. Author's note: after reading a comment about Izuku and Midnight's wedding, I thought that would be funny as hell, so here we are. With another set of short stories, Wedding Memories, William, which they will consist of the funny moments of some of Izuku's weddings. Let's try this out. Izuku and Nimre's wedding. The wedding guests that Izuku and Nimre invite have arrived, which Izuku had too much fun with the seating chart. When he saw Yagi, All Might, is attending, he seated him next to Dad, a foe, just like his wedding with Melissa. Then he saw the Sir Night-Eye was attending to support Yagi, which Izuku seated him next to Kai just to troll him. So, Izuku looks at the ice sculpture of swans and doves, which he got Todoroki to do because why not? Izuku's best man Dabi was holding the rings and enjoying the view of heroes and villains in one place, somehow not tearing the place down. Then the ceremony began, which Izuku had the chairs on the hero seats ready to trigger if someone objects to the marriage. Then a syringe would inject them with a solution to knock them to sleep. But he was confident that it wouldn't happen. When they got to the idos, the priest asked, "Do you take Nimri Kayama as your wife?" Izuku smiled, "You bet your ass." The priest said, "Do you take this man, Izuku Midoriya, as your husband?" Nimri smiled, "Yes." After the rings and kiss, they did what normal wedding couples did, like cut the cake. Yagi was brooding the entire time because he was seated next his arch-rival, just like with Melissa's wedding, which he was thinking Izuku did that on purpose. Ufo asked, "Are you still angry?" Yagi sighed, "Yes." Ufo chuckled, "So, how are you doing with your injury?" Yagi grunted, "Dying. I'm ready to just pass away." Ufo asked, "Are you sure about that?" Yagi said, "Very sure." Ufo chuckled, "You are going to be in for a surprise." "Thank you." Yagi in shock, "What?" Ufo smiled, "Thank you for giving me Izuku and Tamura. And for causing all of this." Yagi was about to throw down even if he was going to lose. Sir grabbed his shoulder to say, "It's not worth it." Kai chuckled, "It's funny how you can predict the future. But you couldn't predict Izuku's actions because they are too chaotic." Sir sighed, which people were getting alcohol, which Izuku was smirking because alcohol was going to be interesting. Nimri asked, "Are you sure they should have alcohol?" Izuku smiled, "They're full-grown people, what the worst that can happen?" Aizawa was drunk, came up next, Izuku showing pictures, "Look at my son, he is the greatest." Izuku looked at the pictures, which were Shinso, which he and Nimri laughed their asses off from this. Izuku leaned to Nimri, "Does he believe Shinso is his son?" Nimri said, "When he is drunk, he believes he is a father of someone. Whoever's pictures in his wallet is who he thinks is his child." Izuku smirked, "What if I put a picture of me in his wallet and get him drunk?" Nimri giggled, "That would be funny. I would be recording that." Izuku looked at the time to say, "Well, you know what time it is?" Nimri raised her eyebrows, "Time sure does fly." Izuku picked her up, "Time to make those fanfics about us non-fiction." Izuku took her to the Bugatti, which they drove off, leaving the wedding, which was now a battlefield. Izuku looked back to say, "Look at them go at it. They'll be fine." Nimri asked, "You sure about it?" Izuku said, "In 1 minute, my mom will call dad to come back to their house. Kai has a few things to do in the same time, leaving an even battlefield. But let's head to our." They hear a bump, which Izuku stopped the car and looked out to see Bakugo on the ground, which he said, "Give me 1 moment." Izuku grabbed Bakugo to drag him to a nearby bench, then called Kirishima, "Hey Kiri." He got ran over. "I don't know who ran him over. Yeah, just trace the phone. I just got out of my 4th wedding with my new 4th wife." "Okay, bye now." Izuku got back to the car to say, "Where were we?" Nimri seduced, to make fanfics into non-fiction. Izuku stepped on the gas to head to the honeymoon, which would last a week because Izuku had important work after the week. Chapter 64, yeah, know about that chapter. I'm not reading that out loud, because of YouTube guideline. Basically Izuku got a taste of the pussycat. Which brings this question. Should I read Lemon chapter or not? Comment your thought. Chapter 65, My Anarchist Academia Trailer 2. The magicians Tashino, Hoshi, Nozomi, and No were looking at their plans to steal a valuable item that would be for something special. They saw the security, which Tashino said, "We need a flamer for this." No asked, "So either George or Dante, which one are we thinking for this?" Nozomi said, "Dante. Because George is busy at the moment." Hoshi asked, "What can George and the anarchists be doing at 3 in the morning?" Children of Anarchy George, Emily, Sapai, Kokoro, and Kamine were in America in a secret military base surrounded by military troops, which George dropped the flamethrower. "I'm out of flame." Emily looked at him. "George. You are the flamethrower." George said, Oh shit. Sorry, we are taking so much gunfire I forgot I am the flamethrower. George started breathing flame at the troops which Kokoro was taking out, tanks, huge robots, and government agents who can use their quirks. Sypnopsis was opening doors and hacking into robots like crazy to fight back. Emily looked at Kamine with a shiny blue cube that Kamine called the Tesseract. Emily shouted, "Can't you get a shiny cube anywhere else?" Kamine looked at her. "There is nothing like the Tesseract, I need it to build some stuff." Emily said, "Sypnopsis is about to have the biggest migraine in history, George completely forgot he had a quirk a second ago, and Kokoro is about to go crazy with all the blood spilling." She turned around to use an RPG to shoot down a helicopter. "I'm going to run out of ammo soon." Kamine put the Tesseract in a gun-like device to say, "Buckle up. We are in for a surprise." Kamine started rapidly shooting every enemy nearby, which destroyed them with one shot each until there was no one left. Emily punched him. "Why the hell didn't you use until now?" Kamine said, "I had minor adjustments to fix." Emily sighed. George helped Sypnopsis stand up. Kokoro smiled. "That was fun. But where are we?" Emily said, "Yeah, you never told us, Kamine, where we are at." Kamine chuckled. "If I told you where we are at, will not kill me?" George said, "That's debatable." Kamine said, "We are at Area 51 in the United States." They were not happy that they were in Area 51 of all places, which Kamine then pointed the gun and made a portal to say, "This is the way home." Emily said, "You better hope it is." Kokoro looked at a broke crate to see a collection of rings of different colors ranging from white to black. She shrugged and brought the crate with them back home and thought about putting them in a glass box to display them. Stardust vigilantes. The guys looked out to see some men guarding a building, which Joseph said, "Masahide, do your thing." Masahide sighed, then headed over to the guards, which one of them looked at him to say, "Stop W." Masahide possessed the guards too, then made them knock each other out. Goro, Joseph, Akuro came down to high-five him, then they headed inside to see an entire factory of trigger. Akuro smiled, "Are you guys thinking what I'm thinking?" Goro smiled while grabbing the cans of gasoline which they set the factory on fire. Goro said, "You guys want to grab a drink then head over to watch Chojin's match?" They nodded, which they went to grab some beer and headed down to the underworld fighting ring to watch their half-brothers fights. They saw Coach, which he was their father's coach and Chojin's coach. Then they sat down next to him, which Masahide asked, "How many wins does Chojin has now?" Coach chuckled, "This is his 50th win in his winning streak. He is excited about it." Then they heard, "Gentlemen and ladies, tonight's match will be a title match for the title of King of the Underworld will be fought tonight." Everyone cheered. The announcer said, "In this corner, we have the meanest, the strong, and the toughest. Give it up for." The man came in was big, hairy, and had horns like a bull. The announcer said, "The Minotaur." Goro smiled, "This will be an easy fight." People were cheering and were excited about this fight. Then the light shined to the other end, and in this corner, we have the undefeated champ, current holder of the title. Then Ganafly now started playing, which the guys saw, their brother walking out of the tunnel with his hoodie on with his blue eyes showing and his pale skin. The announcer said, "Rocky." The crowd was going crazy as Chojin steps into the ring to take off his hoodie to face his opponent. The announcer asked, "Are you two gentlemen ready?" They nodded, which then the bell went off and they began to brawl, which Chojin came up to Minotaur and punched him with extreme strength and speed. The guys were cheering him on, which Akuro said, "He hasn't used his quirk yet and Minotaur is getting his ass kicked." Minotaur threw a punch at Chojin, which he took it and Chojin smirked, "Come on now, that's the best you got." Chojin used Ofat to punch him in the face, sending him flying to the other end of the ring. Chojin walked up to look at Minotaur's condition, which he got up, but he was one punch from Akko. Chojin decided to get defensive, which Minotaur used his last energy to throw punches at him, which Chojin dodged them all, then punched him in the gut and face to get Akko. The announcer said, "Here we are folks. The champ with his 50th winning streak, the one and only Rocky." Chapter 66, 3. Time, don't know location, Vietnam. Izuku was now in the jungles of Vietnam with an AK-47 with a bunch of Viet Cong fighters in the 1960s. How did he get here, one might ask? Well, he wanted to find an artifact that appeared in Vietnam that he was interested in. That artifact was the Ark of the Covenant, which he found the information on it from listening to the stories from government agents he paid off. He knew the location of the Ark was in a secret U.S. military base in the present, but it was easier to go back in time and take it before the U.S. troops found it. Izuku was dressed up as a member of the Viet Cong to help him find the Ark, and so he didn't get killed by them. Izuku and the troops he was traveling with were in the jungle walking until they arrived at a temple. Then the leader stopped and asked, "Why do I hear fortunate, son?" Then they looked up to see helicopters, which Izuku hauled ass into the temple and the other soldiers followed. The helicopter shot some missiles and the minigunners shot at them as they were running into the temple. Then American troops arrived, which their leader said, "I love the smell of freedom and dead Charlies. I knew they were here when the trees started speaking Vietnamese." Izuku said, "Goddamn clampets, I need to get the Ark before they do." The Viet Cong leader said, "GI Joes are here. We are going to get reinforcements soon. Defend this place the best you all can." Izuku ran deep in the temple and checked the traps to see that they weren't activated yet. Then he asked a few guys to come with him to help him with carrying the Ark and told them that it was valuable to the Americans. The 5 men he asked agreed to help him, which they carefully went across past the traps to find the Ark. Izuku said, "Whatever you do, do not open it." Then they heard gunfires and screaming, which Izuku looked out to see the Americans coming in. One of them said, "Let's find the rest of these tunnel diggers." Izuku said, "Goddamn rednecks." Izuku cocked his gun to start firing at them, which they started running and shooting back. Izuku turned to the men to say, "Let's get out of here." They picked up the Ark and started going to another exit while Izuku was behind them giving cover fire. The American soldiers started falling into the traps like the pit of snakes, which the leader said, "These rats are smart. Get the flamers." Then some men came in with flamethrowers, which Izuku said, "Fuck, they are coming in with flamers." Izuku then aimed at one of the flamers' arm, which made him drop the flamer. Izuku and the men carrying the Ark got out of the temple, which Izuku stole one of the radios off one of the dead Americans, which he got scared when he heard, "Fuck it. Drop Agent Orange on this place." Izuku then got the guys to run like hell, which they started running deep into the jungle and watched as the temple was covered in Agent Orange. Which Izuku looked at the tired guys, which Izuku opened the portal to the present, which he grabbed a few laser rifles to give the men. Izuku said, "If you are about to die, push the red button on the side and it will blow up. Thank you for your help." They nodded, which Izuku pushed the Ark back to the present, which he put it in the treasure building. He was tired. Then he heard a cough, which he looked over to see Melissa, which she asked, "Why are you wearing a Viet Cong uniform?" Izuku said, "Long story short, I went back in time to the Vietnam War to steal the Ark of the Covenant before the GIS could get it. I'm really tired at the moment from the guerrilla tactics I had to do." Melissa asked, "Isn't your fights with most heroes involved with guerrilla tactics?" Izuku chuckled, "We are in a city. Have you tried doing it in the jungles of Vietnam?" Melissa giggled. "I guess you're right." She helped him up to go get changed and get lunch, which she said, "When it comes to the Vietnam War," Izuku said, "you guys did a tactic retreat and you never lost a war." They laughed their way out of the building to lock it up, which Izuku said, "I'll come back later to put a note on it to not open it." Melissa asked, "What was the Ark doing in Vietnam?" Izuku said, "Apparently the whole thing about it being moved to somewhere in Ethiopia was a lie. They took it to Vietnam to hide it from anyone who wanted to use it to take over the world." Present Jichi and his sister Nami were looking around looking to see their dad's collection. They saw the Ark with a label on it reading, "Do not open," which they called their dad to ask about it, and Izuku came to tell them the story of it. Nami said, "That is one cool item and it's legendary." Jichi asked, What happens when you open it? Izuku said, I only know that it is a bad idea to open it, so no one is going to open it and that is final. They nodded, which Izuku guided his dragon children around to tell them stories about the items they were interested in. Chapter 67 Short Side Stories 8. Time, a few months after Chapter 51. Izuku was enjoying the life of doing whatever he wanted to do and no laws stopping him, which he found some free time to explore the countryside. He found a cave about a few miles from the nearest city, which Izuku looked it up to find it hasn't been explored. Izuku chuckled. I guess I will be the first to explore this cave. Izuku walked into the cave and turned on a flashlight to see pillars, which he said, this is neat. I wonder what else is down here. He continued down the dark cave, which Sensei Chang in Izuku's head said, I believe you should turn around. This doesn't feel right. The other offenders were agreeing with him, which Izuku sighed. Fine. I will leave because you are all chickens. Izuku turned around, but suddenly he fell to the ground, falling under him, which Izuku shouted while falling, you should have warned me about that ground sooner. Izuku saw his flashlight hit the ground, which he realized he need a way to land safely and fast. He used Black Whip to find something to avoid breaking a few bones. Then his whip caught something with he stopped a foot from the ground. Izuku let go of what he was grabbing to drop to the ground in the pitch-black cave and chuckled, another happy landing. Then he heard, who are you? Izuku jumped in fright, what the fuck? The feminine voice said, I'm sorry for scaring you, young one. Izuku calmed down. I guess I should apologize for cursing like that. My name is Izuku Midoriya. The voice said, Izuku. What a wonderful name. Izuku chuckled, thank you. Who are you and why are you here? The voice said, my name is Izanami. You are in the underworld. Izuku in shock, the underworld? Like hell? She giggled, not hell per se, but like the afterlife. Izuku looked around. I guess I need immortality, because fuck this dark cave shit. She said, you seem modicum about this. Izuku smiled. I guess I am. Do you know the way out? Izanami said, I do. But I want something in exchange. Izuku felt uneasy. What would you like? Izanami asked, do you know my former husband? Izuku said, no. But I would like to hear about it. Izanami told her story of the creation of Japan, her husband, her 3 children, her death to the underworld, and her husband running away from her when he saw her new form. Izuku said, what an asshole. Izanami giggled, I'm glad you see it that way. Izuku said, if you want me to kill him or extreme injure him, then I need a location and weapons. She said, I don't want him dead but injured. That is what this going to be about. I want you to father our 2 children, which one day they will injure and humiliate my former husband. Izuku asked, what? She said, you heard me. Izuku asked, so how do you want to do this? Mirio in Izuku's head, what the fuck is wrong with you? Izuku said, give me a moment. I got people in my head to talk to. Izanami said, okay. Take your time. This is the land of the dead anyways. Izuku walked away from her a little bit to talk to the other previous users, which Izuku said, what do you want? Mirio said, you are seriously going to father her children, which will be used to get revenge on her former husband, Izanagi. The Izanagi. Izuku said, did you hear her? He abandoned her when he saw her face after she ate the food of this place, which is just a dick move, and killed their 3rd child because the child killed her. Nana said, this isn't right, you are going to help bring evil upon the world. Izuku said, I banged a few goddesses already, dream MILF. Also, they will be destined to fight her husband, not destroy the world. Sensei Chang said, I hate to say this but Izuku, you need the deal. The others looked at him, which Sensei Chang said, Izuku has kids and more on the way, besides who said these 2 from her will be complete evil. I believe Izuku will raise them to be good kids in the end. Izuku said, thank you. So, I'm going to make the deal. And you can't convince me otherwise. Izuku went back to Izanami. I accept the deal. How do we do this? She held out her hand. Just shake my hand. Izuku shook her hand, then appeared in front of the cave, which he sighed in relief. Then he noticed he was holding something in his arms. He looked down to see he was holding two babies, which they each had a name tag. The white-hair baby girl's tag read Chaos and the black-hair baby boy's tag read 4, which Izuku smiled at them. Time to go to your new home. Izuku turned to head over to a portal made by Kurogiri to head over to his house to tell everyone he found some babies and he was adopting them. Present. After, Izuku told 4 and Chaos about their mother and their destiny. Chaos said, "So, we are demigods and we are destined to kick a god's ass?" Izuku said, "Yeah." 4 asked, "Would you take that deal again?" Izuku smiled, "Hell yeah. I love you too, just like your other siblings, because you are my children. I don't care how many people kill or the amount of gods you kill, I still will love you, and I won't abandon you." The 2 hugged him and said, "Thanks, Dad." Izuku chuckled, "Besides, you came for something else, right?" Chaos said, "We would like some training with weapons and weaponless fighting." 4 added, "We need to learn the full capabilities of our powers as well." Izuku chuckled, "Well, I know the powers she gave you too after I did some research on her, which I will help you the best I can." Chapter 68, The Story of Joker. Author's note: like I stated in Symbol of Evil, this Izuku and so Izuku are two different Izukus. This will be chapter on how Joker discovered that the anarchist has one for all, and the Izukus in the Brotherhood will get to see pieces of Joker's past to see how he became a monster. Let's do it. Stark was messing with Joker's Izubook device, which he shouted, "Found it." The anarchist asked, "You found out how that bastard figured out my secret?" Deku said, "Calm down." Stark nodded, which the guys were in the anarchist's dimension about 8 years after All Might retired as a hero. Green Might asked, "Can we see his past?" Magneto smirked, "I would love to see it, especially after he aired my darkest memory to my world." Stark said, "Got it, let's see this monster's past." Everyone sat down, which the members of the Brotherhood were now Deku, Anarchist, Stark, Deadshot, Scarecrow, Magneto, Green Might, Deadpool, Venom, Doctor Strange, John Wick, Firenze, Punisher, Hex, Gaku, Super Saiyan Izuku, Scarecrow, Constantine, Izugiri, Father and Son Izuku, and Spider Deku. Deadpool shouted, "Let's get this party started." The scene opened up to the rooftop, which All Might told Izuku, "You can't be a hero without a quirk, it's too dangerous." Izuku teared up and smiled, "Okay. That all I need to hear." All Might left, which Izuku looked at the ledge, then without hesitation, he jumps off the roof. Most of the Izukus were in shock, while the anarchist and Deadpool were thinking, "Are you really going to give up that easily?" Then a purple warp gate opened, which took Izuku to a seat in a bar. Izuku opened his eyes. Kurogiri looked at the boy. "We got him." Izuku asked, "Am I dead?" Tamura said, "No." Izuku quickly asked, "Why do you want me? Where am I at?" A voice said, "You are at the base of the League of Villains, and we have a proposal for you." Deku asked, "What do they want?" The anarchist quickly. "His quirk analysis skills, we have a special talent for it. The skill is super valuable, more valuable than you will ever know." Scarecrow nodded, "Our skill is nearly priceless, no one is more accurate than us. In the hands of the League, they would gain a huge advantage over the heroes." The heroes were in shock that their skill was that powerful, and they had no idea that their simple hobby can do so much damage. Izuku then agreed to the terms, but he didn't want to kill anyone, and he was given a room to live in. A few months later, he met Toga, which at first, he was terrified by her, but then he got close to her. They got close to where they would sleep together, and then she smiled one morning while the guys were planning the camp attack. She went up to Izuku, "Hey Izuku-kun." They kissed, which Izuku smiled, "Yes, my darling." She giggled, "How do you feel about being a family?" Izuku said, I thought all of us were family already. He had a ring for her and was going to propose to her soon, which Toga giggled. I mean like a baby. The guys stopped what they were doing, which is Yuku in shock. Why you mean? Toga showed the stick, which is Yuku teared up. I'm going to be a dad. Izuku got on a knee. I was going to do this later, but now. He revealed the ring. Will you be my wife? Toga jumped in the air. Yes. All the Izuku thought this was a happy memory and the best day of this Izuku's life, which Stark raised an eyebrow. But what happened to this Izuku that made him a monster to where he betrayed the League and kill hundreds? Anarchist had a theory, but he wasn't going to share it. Venom said, something bad is going to happen. Hexadon, something happened to Toga and the unborn child possibly. A few weeks later, Izuku and Toga were going to walk to Izuku's home to tell his mother after a long time. They were happy about the marriage and child on the way until an explosion, which the two looked to see Bakugo. Bakugo grinned. Deku. Izuku pulled out a knife. Toga, get away. Toga got in her stance. I'm not leaving you. Bakugo flew to them. Izuku dodged the right hook, then cut Bakugo, but then Bakugo brought back up. Bakugo's backup was his goons from middle school, which Toga and Izuku were outnumbered. The two ran to Ace chemical plant to hide and gain an advantage over them. Hex said, the chemical plant. That is where it started. Green Might said, it's a good thing we destroyed it so no one can ever be a part of the chemicals again. Deadpool said, SHH. I'm trying to watch. Toga killed a few of Bakugo's goons while Izuku injured a few, which then All Might came in to ask, what's going on here? Bakugo smirked. I found Deku and his killer girlfriend that made him a villain. We are going to catch them. Izuku in anger, I became a villain before I met her. Now leave me, my wife, and child alone. Izuku threw a knife at Bakugo's knee, which Bakugo screamed in pain. Toga jumped to attack Bakugo, but All Might punched her. All Might punched her so hard that her neck snapped. She flew to Izuku, which Izuku caught her, which he felt her lifeless body. Toga. Toga-chan? He checked her pulse, which he felt nothing. He cried out, nah ooh. He started crying, which All Might in shock that he killed her. I'm sorry, young Midoriya. Bakugo smirked. Don't be sorry. She used him, played him, and lied to him. The Izukus were pissed with this Bakugo and they wanted to go back to that dimension just to kick his ass for causing all of this. Anarchist said, that is some bullshit, Bakugo. You are worse than a villain. Deku said, as much I hate to admit it, but Anarchist is right. You are a horrible person. The Izukus were going to have a talk with that Bakugo when they have free time. Izuku in rage pulled out a big knife. I hate you. I hate both of you. Izuku got on his feet. I will kill you two for killing my wife and child. He ran to them, but Bakugo made a huge explosion, which All Might shouted, no. But it was too late, and the explosion sent Izuku flying into one of the chemical containers full of chemicals. Izuku then went down a drain until he made it outside. Izuku started scratching himself, then laughing like a madman. Izuku's skin was pale white and his hair was a different shade of green. I will kill you, Kaken and All Might. No, I will make the world pay for what it has done to me. This world took away my hope, my love, my happiness, and everything. Hee. Izuku then laughed like a madman, then a man shouted, hey, are you? Izuku threw a knife at his throat, which killed him. Time to break a few moral codes that limited me. Izugiri asked, what kind of chemicals were in that plant? Strange said, to this day, we don't want to know. Scarecrow scratched his head. I stole a few samples, but I have yet to determine what they are. Deku looked at him. What? Scarecrow shrugged. I got curious by it. Meeting Overhaul and Tamura were pissing each other off. Then Izuku opened the door laughing. Tamura went to Izuku. Are you okay? We heard what happened. Izuku looked at him with crazy eyes, which freaked out Tamura and the League. Yes, I'm fine. He looked at Overhaul. Is that man causing a problem? Tamura in fear for some reason. Yeah. Izuku revealed a small white-haired girl behind him which Overhaul in rage. Why do you have Eri? Then Namus appeared to kill Overhaul's men, leaving him all alone. Izuku threw a gas grenade at Overhaul. Overhaul was going to use his quirk, but his mask broke and using his quirk started to hurt him. Tamura and the League were in shock. Izuku giggled. My old moral code would have told me to never make the gas. But the old me is dead. Izuku pulled out a knife. This is your prized item. I'm disappointed. Izuku stabbed Eri's head while laughing, which the weak Overhaul passed out, which Izuku looked at the League. Take him to Sensei's doctor. We have some work to do. The League was terrified of this Izuku and they obeyed his orders, which they dragged Overhaul and Eri to the doctor. Deadpool said, not the doctor. Anarchist, Scarecrow, and Wick shrugged. He is an okay guy. The heroes were wondering who the doctor was, which the villains explained who the doctor was. Deku said, he makes the Namus and high-end Namus, that is scary. Green Knight asked, where do we find him? The villains were going to reveal that, because why would they, and their doctors can be in different locations. The doctor looked at Izuku, which Izuku smiled at him. How long until the Harley Quinn is ready? Izuku looked at the tube which showed Toga was in it, which the doctor said, Harley will be ready in a few weeks. Her multiple quirks will be quite useful to you. Izuku giggled, good. I want you to do the same with this girl. Overhaul calls Eri. I think she would be an excellent daughter of mine. Then Izuku went to full-blown laughter. He made an evil laugh that made everyone have shivers down their spines. The video ended, which Anarchist said, I can't help but feel sorry for him. He wanted to be like everyone else. He found love and was going to have a family, but it was taken away from him by the world. He was the monster that society made, and he was going to hurt the world as much as the world hurt him. Magneto said, we thought he was the monster when really his world was the monster. Deku said, I'm real sure he was happy in the end, where he can finally be with his love and his child. The Izukus agreed that they were sad for this version of them, and they understood how he became a monster. They wished they could have helped him, but they also knew that they couldn't. Then the door opened, which Emily, George, and a few of the Anarchist kids came in yelling, Dad. The kids looked at other versions of their dad, which the Anarchist got up. I'm your dad, don't worry about the others. The other Izukus were still in shock by the Anarchist's 52 kids, which who won't be shocked by that number. The Anarchist went up to them. You need something? Emily smiling, I shot a rubber bullet and it hit a hero, Mom wanted me to tell you. The Anarchist put up his hand, high five. She high-fived him, which the heroes gave an unsettled Tom face from the Anarchist's parenting and were questioning it. Jichi said, I stole a diamond earring, which Mom isn't happy about it. The Anarchist smiled, high five. The villains giggled, which the heroes face-palmed. Then Joseph said, I helped Eraserhead catch a villain with my quirk. He told me it was reckless, but he was happy that I helped him. The Anarchist smiled, high five. The heroes were happy that the Anarchists supported heroism, but they all agreed that they love that supports his children no matter what. But they mostly questioned his parenting methods, which the Anarchist turned to them. If you are questioning my parenting methods, mind your own damn business. The last thing I need is parenting advice from my other selves. Gaku shouted, don't curse in front of your kids. George said, shut up, bitch. The Izukus were in shock, which the Anarchist asked, where did you learn it from? George said, I heard you say that when you and Mother Nimri were in a room. The Anarchist said, crap. I left the door open when we had— Shut up, bitch. The Izukus were in shock, which the Anarchist asked, where did you learn it from? George said, I heard you say that when you and Mother Nimri were in a room. The Anarchist said, crap. I left the door open when we had a special hug. You all can't say that until I tell you what it means, okay? They nodded and left, which the Anarchist said, I need to double-check the doors next time. Deadpool, who was dying from George calling Gaku a bitch while Gaku said, I'm real sure he didn't mean it. Last but not least, Chapter 69. A rewrite of this story, that's it. The end.